Hey guys, how's it going? And happy Friday. I hope you're all doing good. Me, I've been plowing quite a bit of snow actually. Starting, I guess it'd be yesterday morning at 2 a.m., all the way till 5 p.m. yesterday. So that's 15 hours of actually plowing, shoveling, salting, and being up all night. I got some sleep last night, but I'm still kind of out of it. It gets your days and nights turned around. And then I get to look forward to snow starting tonight, probably right when this stream's over, snowing all day Saturday and all day Sunday. So I'm going to try to rest up tomorrow a little bit and probably be stuck out plowing like crazy. So is anyone ready for spring yet? Oh, well. Well, tonight we're going to talk about the new Trump tariffs that have been announced and how they're going to affect guns and ammo, something that I'm assuming a lot of you like to buy. Maybe you do buy, maybe you're wanting to here in the future. And I have lots of thoughts about that. But before we get into it, I want to thank all of you for the many ways you help support the channel. Thank you to all my channel members out there. I see you guys in the chat. You guys get some extra emojis and your names are in green there. So I appreciate all of you supporting. And I do post extra content from time to time for YouTube channel members. And also thanks to my Patreon supporters, where I do the same thing, as well as my local supporters. Now, Locals is a different site, censorship free, where I do an extra weekly live stream every Saturday night. Hopefully tomorrow night, I'll let you guys know if I'm out plowing. That's always the exception with me doing snow removal in the winter. And also their sister site, which rhymes with fumble. I'm also on X and a bunch of other places, including Myriad Social. All these links are down in the description, so make sure you check them out after the stream. And if you're watching on replay, now Myriad Social is not only censorship free, but it's actually uncensorable on the blockchain, which that's a nice way to do social media, because when you have big tech, you're kind of under the thumb, and we're going to have as much fun as we can tonight while we're under the thumb. So thank you for all of you. Also, thank you for the super chats. And I will read all of those tonight. So if you have any questions or just want to help sponsor the channel, I really appreciate it. And shout out to the replay crew who are watching on replay. And if you guys like the stream and, like I said, want to help keep things going, you can leave what's called a super thanks. And thank you to those of you who have in the past, and Cash App and all the different ways you guys help out. So good to see all of you tonight. Real quick Michigan question. If you go back to last week, I talked about this like 85 bills that, in my opinion, and according to the Constitution, the way I read it pretty plainly, were not presented to the governor in a timely fashion and therefore not signed in the proper way. I asked all of you to get a hold of your Michigan reps and senators, maybe even more specifically your reps in the Michigan House. One person did, and he actually included the reply in the comment section to what somebody from the office of Brad Paquette. Brad Paquette's a good 2A supporting representative, and I was very encouraged by the reply that he got, that he shared with all of us. Now, he's the only one that shared anything back with me, so I'm hoping the rest of you guys have all been diligently getting hold of your Michigan representative, not United States Congress, but your Michigan rep. It's real easy to do. Just go to the Michigan House of Representatives website, put in your address. It'll tell you who it is. But you should know who your state rep is by now. But if not, there's still time to correct yourself. And that's my challenge for all of you. And look, nothing's going to happen unless they're just going to take care of it on their own, which maybe the Michigan legislature is. But I don't know what they're doing. So we need lots of you guys pressuring them, encouraging them to let them know that we're not okay with a bunch of bills being signed in probably not the right way. You know what I'm saying? Probably not the right way, in my opinion. And I will let you guys know when I get more updates on that. But please update me if you guys are out there doing stuff, because, yeah, I'd like to think I'm not the only one, right? And we get the government that we deserve. So speaking of government, let's switch over to the federal government, the United States government right now. And I want to talk about these new tariffs that Trump's announcing, as well as just give a quick recap on the other subject I talked about last week, which was these executive orders regarding the Second Amendment. Look, as I made clear during that last standalone video I did a week ago, as well as the live stream, these are executive orders. These are not laws. This is not the Constitution. And those of you that are new here, welcome. It's good to have you. And those of you who have been here a long time know that I've been saying this since day one, and I've been the most consistent person anywhere on this. Look, In the United States of America, the Constitution is supposed to be the supreme law of the land, literally. And the second time it was amended, ratified in 1791, the second time a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's the law of the land. If you read the Federalist Papers, all laws that are repugnant to the Constitution, those would be void. Those would be nullified. Now also skip to early Supreme Court precedent, 1803. All laws that are repugnant to the Constitution are void. Very, very important. Landmark Supreme Court decision, 1803. So that's where I am. There should be no two-way EDU show. We shouldn't have to talk about it. I mean, it'd be cool. I'm glad we're here. Like, I hope we could all like be friends and hang out otherwise, but you guys get my point, right? It makes me sick. And it's a shame, and it's completely disgusting that there even has to be a channel called Two-Way EDU, educating on the Second Amendment, advocating for it, trying to get people reinvigorated that we get the government we deserve, and hopefully we can get more active and have a government that's supposed to operate at the consent of the governed, right? But shall not be infringed. That's a mandate on government. And that means that there literally cannot even be one gun control law or rule or code or whatever, or executive order, executive action. There can be nothing in a country called the United States of America because the supreme law of the land is so crystal clear. And it's 100% clear. And only tells you the what, but it tells you the why. So look, I was excited about Trump's executive orders only insofar as this, but look, it was a good thing overall. And I'm not mad that he did it because, again, we have to put this all into context. We find ourselves in the shape we're in. Yet here we are, after this long train of abuses and usurpations. Here we are almost 250 years after the Declaration of Independence, dealing with tens of thousands of gun control laws, codes, regulations, executive actions, executive orders, rules that have full force and effect of law. And it's all just completely insane. So yeah, it was completely unconstitutional for Biden to do any anti-Second Amendment executive orders. Absolutely. It was completely unconstitutional for Trump to ban bump stocks. I hope everybody in the Trump administration has gotten red flags completely out of their mouth, including particularly Pam Bondi, because her track record's terrible on that. And Trump as well, who has been an advocate for them in the past. I hope the right people have gotten in their ear. Or maybe in Trump's case, him getting shot and realizing he has a second chance to maybe correct a lot of things and be a better president than he was before. Maybe that's enough to change him. Look, I'm watching very closely. And like I said last week, I get it, guys. It's fine. I mean, that's what this is. And I put myself out here. So I totally get it, and I'm fine with it either way. But look, I'm not going to be pro-Trump enough for some of you. It just is what it is. But then I'm not going to be anti-Trump enough for some of you. And trust me, nobody's going to get on him more than me when and if he messes up. And we've spent many countless hours bringing to light things he's done against the Second Amendment in the past. Hasn't done anything against the Second Amendment yet this term. I'm hoping he's changed, regardless why. I don't even really care why. Just I hope that he has. And we'll see. And we can hope for something while not truly believing that it's going to happen no matter what. Because, look, nobody's perfect. But I'll tell you what, man, when Trump got shot, let's just say in the head, really, in the ear, essentially in the head, and got right up and said, fight, fight, fight. That's quite the thing, man. Could you guys do that? I don't know if I could do that, to be honest with you. Like, that's pretty darn... look, again, and I'm not simping for Trump. You guys know this. I'm just telling you, a spade. Like, that's kind of a tough guy. Who else could literally do that? It seems like we got a different sheriff in town this time around, though, in a pretty good way. So I'm hoping Trump's, thought about things. Maybe it's Don Jr. talking to him, I mean, he would be an excellent influence if him and his dad are having those conversations, obviously, right? So, yeah, I do think those Trump executive orders, and we're going to get into the tariffs in just 1 minute, but this is an important topic because we have to put this all into perspective. Those executive orders, I think, were an excellent thing because this on its face is it's tasking Pam Bondi. It says she shall. Now, I'm worried about Pam Bondi too, but that's Trump. Trump has to deal with her. That's literally in Trump's lap right now. Do you guys agree? Like, look, he nominated her to be the attorney general. The Senate, under its advice and consent, passed her through. When Trump writes an executive order and says the attorney general shall do these things by this date, and he was very specific, he listed certain things, certain parameters of what she has to do. Look, guys, I'm real nervous about Pam Bondi, but I'm hoping she's changed too. We'll see. Watching her very closely, though. Very closely. I just don't trust the woman right now. She's going to have to do a little bit more. Maybe we can trust later, but I'm never going to truly trust. But you know what I mean? On the superficial level that you can trust any of these people, hopefully she'll prove that she's a good egg after all. Or maybe she's too afraid of Trump to defy him. I don't know what the scenario is going to be. But at the same time, she shall go in and right a lot of the wrongs that Biden did over the last 4 years that other presidents have done as well. So we'll see. But look, at the end of the day, no, of course, an executive order is never going to be an end-all, be-all. And a lot of you asked me questions about state laws, particularly laws with Michigan, but also from California, from Washington State, all these different states where you guys are under tyranny, you know, potential magazine bans in Colorado and just all these different things, right? Illinois, I had viewers chime in from all over the place. And dude, I understand your concerns. Michigan's House of Representatives just flipped very recently. We had a Democrat trifecta with some of the most psycho, far leftist, communist, Marxist, you name it, people running all branches of our government. I know. I've gotten a taste of enough of it where it's sickening. Can Trump wave a magic wand as far as the Second Amendment goes with states? There's two short answers to that. Yes and no, or no and yes, actually, the more I've thought about it. First of all, we do have the 10th Amendment. That's a separation of powers. That means that we, the people, are supposed to retain most of the power, followed by the states, and then the federal government is supposed to have very little power. So generally speaking, a president can't just nullify state laws, as it should be, because we're not supposed to have a king or an emperor. We're supposed to be these several states, as the founding fathers worded it. And nowadays we have many states, right? But there are a couple things that the president, as the chief executive officer, okay, as you could look at this as he's the CEO of the country. This is the head of the country with so many things, and also the commander-in-chief of the United States military. Now, I do think, and I'm not a constitutional scholar as far as I don't have a degree from Harvard or Yale, or, well, that basically means I'm not a far leftist since I don't have a degree from those, right? Oh, there's a few good people that graduate from those schools, but mostly those are Marxism indoctrination academies. But look, the Constitution is very clear that the president shall be in charge of executing the Constitution of the United States and the laws of the land. And I would argue if it came to a law about many things in the states, the president really can't touch it at all. So we need to be careful that we don't want a president that can unilaterally, in an authoritarian manner, come in and just nullify state laws. However, and this is where I said the short answer is no, but yes, but no. And tell me what you guys think. Is this something I've thought deeply about? Let me know in the live chat and also on replay. I think Trump could actually come in and nullify Michigan gun control laws. Actually, how would he particularly specifically do it? I don't know. Again, I've never been a government man. I've never been in office. I never will be, let alone having insiders on how particularly you do procedural things in the White House. So how exactly would he do it? What would be the best way to do it that works? I don't know that. Maybe you guys do. But I think Trump could do something because it's very specifically the Second Amendment. If it's in the Constitution itself or as amended. So an amendment becomes part of the Constitution, right? I hope we're on the same page so far. When it's something to do with the Constitution, look, states aren't allowed to. Yeah, the 14th Amendment. It incorporated the Bill of Rights as not just something that existed within the federal government. The 14th Amendment, it's called an amendment of incorporation, incorporated it to all people in all states. You guys are familiar with that, right? Well, since the Second Amendment and all of the Bill of Rights apply to everybody in America, not just on federal issues, but also on state issues, every single state has to abide to by the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So I think Trump could actually, constitutionally, I think the founding fathers would have said so. He could come in and say, no, you're out of line. Yes, you guys have more powers as states than the federal government when it comes to all of these things. But it's very clear in the 10th Amendment, unless it's very specifically enumerated, right, in the Constitution, that the power is to the federal government, then the federal government reigns supreme. The problem is we've seen them literally just completely bastardize the necessary and proper clause of the United States Constitution, as well as the interstate commerce law, where the federal government is regulating like 99 out of 100 things it shouldn't be within the states, right? But it doesn't mean that it doesn't have power to not regulate anything in the states either. If it's enumerated, just read the 10th Amendment, read the 14th, and then read the Second Amendment. Just a plain reading of it and see if you guys agree with me. So, Second Amendment says what it says, means what it means. 14th Amendment says this does apply to the states. And although the 10th Amendment says that states can basically do as they please, unless it's very, very specifically enumerated in the Constitution, which the Second Amendment is, I think he actually could come in there and actually do something about the Second Amendment. Now, with that said, in all 50 states, I believe there's a way he can nullify all gun control in the whole country. Now that's just what I believe there. I'd be eager to see if anybody wants to chime in on that. And so far, nobody has, which is fine. I'll get into the talking about melting down cans and stuff, which we're going to get into the whole tariffs thing in a second. I didn't mean for this to be too deep of a topic, but I wanted to go over it at least briefly because people did chime in a lot. And I wanted to give you my after I slept on it for a week. But here's the thing. Trump hasn't said he's going to nullify every gun control law. Does he want to? I hope he does. And if you guys can get in his ear, let's keep him more and more invigorated for the Second Amendment. His executive order did not specifically say he's looking to nullify every state gun control law either. So I'm not trying to conflate things. That executive order did not say all gun control is gone regardless of what it is. It's just that, yeah, while I'm a big believer in states' powers, not states' rights, because states don't have rights. Only people have rights. And if you look at the 10th Amendment, it specifically says powers, okay, not specifically delegated or enumerated in the Constitution, right? Goes to the states and then ultimately to we the people. But the Second Amendment is enumerated, literally enumerated. So there you go. I think the president could, because the Second Amendment is so specific, I think he could literally come to every single state. Will he do it? I don't know. Trump's doing stuff right now that nobody ever thought was possible, and I still doubt even him or anybody will do this, but could he do it? I think so, actually. And if I was president, I would ask my people, I would say, how do I do that? How do I get rid of all federal and state gun control laws right now, figure out how to write it up, and then they'd probably get rid of me and something would happen to me and I'd not come back from a boating trip or something like that, but you know what I'm saying, right? Christy Turtel. In theory, yes, Trump can unilaterally do that, but the problem is with enforcement and conflicts. Yeah, to maintain the integrity of each state's own territorial jurisdiction. And look, I completely agree with you, Christy. 99% of the stuff the federal government's doing to the states really don't have to put up with it. Again, they're totally abusing the interstate commerce clause and the necessary and proper clauses of the Constitution. But the Second Amendment, though, that's literally enumerated. That is the federal government's duty to protect everybody in the United States when you also read it in conjunction with the 14th Amendment. So there you guys go. My quick answer when I put out the video was, well, he can't really do that. These are state laws. What can he do? And it's like, well, this is specifically enumerated, though. Like a state, I'll give you a quick example, because Gretchen Whitmer, has anyone ever heard of her? They call her the governor of Michigan. They call her many, many things. I'm trying to keep the channel family friendly tonight. Let me know in the chat what you guys call the governor of Michigan. Do you remember her when she was out there trying to get Kamala into office? Kamala, geez, what a beauty. These are not good looking people, guys. Trust me. Not on the inside or the outside. Kamala's running and Gretchen's on some podcast with some kind of whatever. The governor of Michigan would like to offer you communion. Do you remember that? I'm like, geez, is this going to be some kind of X-rated film? Like, it was weird. Like, I still get weirded out thinking about it. But the governor of Michigan, has anyone heard of her? She's going to start drastically restricting, she says, the weight of the semi-trucks on the road in this state. Okay, whatever. Probably not okay. That's going to make a lot of things change in a lot of very important industries. But I'm like, okay, well, the Constitution doesn't exactly say in there very specifically that the federal government has the right to regulate the weight of a truck on a road within Michigan's boundaries. Anyone that's from Michigan might know what I'm talking about. If not, the rest of you will literally take this a little bit of fun trivia. We have trucks in Michigan. They're called Michigan Special Trucks and Trailers that can't leave the state of Michigan at all. Have you guys ever heard of such a thing? Like, it literally can't leave Michigan because we have some of the highest weight limits with appropriate axles, tonnage. You know, we still have rigorous inspections on these trucks. So you can't just put like 1 million pounds in any old truck, but there are some semi trucks that are capable of hauling 1 million pounds. Appropriate axles, wheel ratings, hub axle ratings, all that stuff. Well, she wants to drastically reduce that in Michigan. Well, these trucks, some of these Michigan special trucks, can't leave to go into Indiana. They can't leave to go into Ohio. They can't cross into Canada because I guess they just can't go anywhere because the weight limit is too high for the state of Ohio. Okay. Well, okay. Ohio can say we want to restrict it to 155,000 pounds. And then Michigan can say, no, we'll allow 700,000 pounds. Now they make you pay extra money to handle extra weight. I'm not going to bore you guys in Michigan, but there's like you can keep paying extra money to keep hauling more and more weight, assuming your rig and everything's capable of it. Now, that's fine. That's called federalism. That's called states' powers. That's the 10th Amendment. The federal government. Look, as long as these trucks aren't going into Ohio. Now, if all of a sudden one tries to go into Ohio, and let's just say the Michigan government's like, screw you. We'll send all trucks through your states. And then Ohio's like, no, we won't let you. And Michigan's like, well, we'll just do it anyways. I'm just giving you a hypothetical. Say these were Michigan government-owned trucks. There could be a conflict. And then the United States government would have to come in to quell a conflict or a fight between two states. But as it stands, you can have different weight limits of semi-trucks in different states. Government can't do nothing about it. I don't want the federal government to do anything about it. But here's the difference. It doesn't say a well-loaded semi being necessary to commerce in a free state, the right to haul as big of a load as you want in any state shall not be infringed. That doesn't say that. Very specifically within, see, the Second Amendment is so specific. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, if it would have said the right to as heavy of a carriage as you want, that would apply to the modern, arms. It was a musket then. Now it's a AR, it's an AK, it's a whatever. So sure, if they would have specifically said the right to haul a carriage as heavy as you want shall not be infringed, then, well, yeah, then obviously you wouldn't be able to restrict weights. But you guys get what I'm saying. There's certain things like that, yeah, states should have the powers to decide how heavy a semi-truck can be in their state. Are they doing too much or too little? Well, that's for the people to decide, and people can take action and decide whether they want to deal with that state law or not. But the Second Amendment's just so specific, I actually think Trump could do that. So there you go. Now, when it comes time for these tariffs, carriages in common use, Bill Camper said, yeah. If they did a decision, they said, well, only if the carriage is in common use, right? Good one, man. Your semi is a little bit on the rare side. We don't see quite as many Volvos as we do freight shakers and freight liners, whatever you want to call them, going down the road. As long as it's a Peterbilt or a freight liner, you're okay. Sterling's, I guess, but no Volvo semi. I mean, that's what it would be. Could you imagine if somebody said, like, all right, you can have a car, but it can only have 105 horsepower exactly. People lose their mind. You're only allowed to have up to 15-inch rims on any pickup truck and only 14-inch rims on any car. People literally lose their mind, but somehow it's just like commonplace for most people where they're like, yeah, whatever. Like EV3 Dale just said, mufflers on a car, $200 tax stamp. Dude, you get a fine if you don't have a muffler on your automobile, but you have to jump through hoops, pay a $200 tax, and be on the registry. That's the key. The United States registry to put a muffler on your firearm is completely insane, and it makes no sense. So yeah, but that's not what that executive order did. But what else is he going to do from an executive order? I still say it was a good thing, because look at all the executive orders Biden did against the Second Amendment. So it's great, and it's not enough, and we need a whole lot more. So there you guys go. Tariffs. So Trump's got a new thing, or a thing that he's done in the past, and now he's bringing it up again in this term. He did this in 2018 with certain metals. We think about aluminum and steel. Now he's got this reciprocal trade agreement, plus more in certain cases, meaning he wants to do a reciprocal tariff. So I'm just going to make this up. If Canada's doing a 10% across the board tariff for the US, we will have a 10% tariff across the board for stuff that's leaving Canada coming into the US. But there are exceptions, and there are some certain reasons, like if it's for national security, he can slap more tariffs on. And that's where they use tariffs as a way to punish other countries in many cases. Rather than having a full out and out, like, bloody war, they'll have what's called a trade war with a country. And they'll put sanctions in some cases and tariffs in others. So he'll still be willing to use those, and he's talking about those right now. He also has some extra tariffs that he says will go above and beyond what their normal reciprocal trade tariffs going to be. And two of those we need to think about in the firearms industry and ammo and all of that. Because as consumers, what's happening to the industry will inevitably affect all of us, right? And how many of you guys want Canada to be the 51st state? Look, I'm going to take a big guess. First, I'm going to say no. Heck no. That's my answer. No 54th state. Shout out to the good Canadians. Look, immigrate here properly. Become a great American, a Second Amendment supporter. Love to have you here. But Canada being the 51st state, no, heck no. I couldn't have a stronger no. Now, I don't think Trump's truly saying all that because he really wants them to become the 51st state. I think Trump's doing what Trump's doing. He's playing some 3D chess. To me, that's very obvious. Let me know if you guys think I'm wrong. I do not want Canada being a 51st state at all. It'd be terrible. I don't think we'd ever have any conservative voted in on a federal level ever again. You'd have 2 more Senate seats that would be Democrat. It would just mess up so much. Like, how many electoral college votes would they get? Just wow. Like, the little bit of a shift we've seen to the right lately, kiss it goodbye. It could be 100 years. It could be never. Before that, that's why Puerto Rico can't become a state. That's why Washington, D.C. can't become a state, nor Guam, nor any of these. Because if they go in there, that's 2 senators per state. Terrible. Now, these tariffs, he's talking about very specifically aluminum and steel, an extra 25% tariff. And I believe, if I'm understanding it correctly, this is in addition to, and it sounds like this is still kind of fluid with some of these things, that could be in addition to some of the other tariffs that he may already be imposing on certain countries. We're also talking about a potential extra 10% for China across the board. Okay, and the way I understand it, I was trying to take some good mental notes. I don't read notes when I do these live streams. I like them to be more fluid. This is a discussion. But I believe these kids, like China, he's punishing them for a certain thing. And then other countries, he's punishing them for things they've done wrong. But even in other cases, if he's quote unquote not necessarily punishing the country, he's just saying, look, we don't want you to take advantages of anymore. If Czech Republic is putting, I don't know what they are, but I'm going to bring them up. We'll see why in a minute. If Czech Republic, let's just say, has a 20% tariff on all their goods that are brought in by the U.S. right now, by what Trump's saying, that would mean anything coming in here from the Czech Republic would get a 20% tariff, right? So this could affect guns and ammo like crazy, even domestically produced stuff. Now, before I get into some of the examples of it, I'm going to say this right away. I don't want guns and ammo to go up in price. I don't. I mean, it's just, being a little selfish. I don't, because these are both things that I like to buy. All right. I like to buy as much of it as I can afford. Sometimes it's not very much. Different times in the past, I've been able to buy more than others. And I think a lot of you are the same way. How many guns is enough? Well, one more than what I currently have. And then when you get the next one, it's still the same answer. It's always one more than you have, no matter how many you get. Right? Ammo, you can never have too much ammo. Okay. So with that said, it's nice when prices are low. And this has been a buyer's market for quite some time. After watching just super crazy shortages, prices through the roof around 2020 into 2021, even 2022. But shortly after that, when we got into the last couple of years, prices have been falling. And if you look at it, we've had hyperinflation in this country in the last 4 years or more, like crazy, right? Remember the plague, the pandemic, the whatever you want to call it? Oh, yeah. Some people even call it the Kung flu. We've seen stuff skyrocket in price, and it hasn't been slowing down. Inflation's been crazy under the former vice president's 4-year reign, his reign of tyranny. And then look, some of these prices for guns and ammo are down pretty close to what they were pre-2020, which when you factor in all of the inflation we've had since then, with today's buying power, which is certainly way less, $1 of this fake fiat currency, that, by the way, is only representation of debt. That's literally all it does. You can pay debt with it. It has no inherent value unless people literally believe there is. You guys do know that, right? We have a fiat currency in the United States, which literally means it's completely fake, actually. No, I'm serious. But it only means something because enough people believe it means something. So this dollar bill that says, it doesn't say this holds $1 worth of silver when you read one. It doesn't say it holds $1 worth of gold. It doesn't even say it's worth $1. It says no. I'll read it exactly what it says. So just keep in mind what money is, because this is important. And then we're going to get into this thing talking about the tariffs. Yes, this is a buyer's market. And if you're new to the channel, DS, welcome. Glad to have you here. Make sure you check out my locals community, because we can't discuss specifics on the markets. And whoever's watching on YouTube right now, we're literally just talking about the general market. I'm talking YouTube employees. YouTube employees, we're not selling anything here. We're not promoting any place that does. We're just literally talking about the economics of guns and ammo, because the other things are prohibited here. Just realize what sites you guys are watching on right now. But look, dude, if you said around, that's like so generic, you know what I mean? Cool, man. Well, welcome here anyways. But yeah, 50 cents to $1 a round of what? Because, dude, 50 cents a round is a bargain, DS. Let me know where you get it from. 50 cents a round for 50 BMG. That's awesome. Just depends where you guys are going for stuff and what it is. Okay. So when someone just says ammo's 50 cents to $1.50 a round, okay, and? No, I'm telling you guys, look, I'm saying this is a good thing. Like, we're in a buyer's market right now. The price of ammo, the price of firearms, and all of that are pretty big, like pretty good. Look, are many other financial constraints on my life. It's hard to even like keep your head above water in this rat race right now. Our economy's been thrashed for the last 4 years. So it doesn't mean that it's easier for us to buy. I'm just saying it's a buyer's market, in my opinion. But here's $1. All right. This note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. That's what it is. It's a Federal Reserve note. It's issued by a Federal Reserve Bank, which with some government oversight and to some extent, not a lot of government oversight, depends which aspect you look at it. It's a corporation, the Federal Reserve. If you look into it, it's a real weird thing. Government prints a lot of these, that they print more to help with inflation, to hurt inflation. It seems like every time you turn around, they're doing something crazy, right? But so with that said, tariffs are coming in. And when I hear him talk about one of the very specific things that's going to have maybe a little bit higher tariff than some of the rest, we're talking steel and aluminum. And when I think of steel and aluminum, that makes me think of guns right off the rip. Ammo a little bit, not as much, but some as far as steel and aluminum goes. But we're also just talking about the metals, the metal commodities market. You know what I'm saying? Thinking about all that. Will this have an effect on the stuff that a lot of you like to buy most? Maybe. But I'm going to say this before I go any further. I'm actually in favor of Trump doing a bunch of tariffs. And I'll tell you why about that too. So I'm actually think this is going to be a good thing overall. If I could cherry pick one little thing here and there, I might decide to be selfish and say, well, hold on a minute, make an exception if it's for ammo, if it's whatever. I don't think I'm going to get that chance to do that. But my point is, I think overall, I think things might get tougher for a little while. But in the end, by the time this plan can come to fruition, it might not be so bad of a thing. And it's actually going right back to our roots of this country, where there was no IRS, there was no income tax. And the whole way this government was, federal government was supposed to be funded, literally from the get-go, look at the founding documents, look at the founding fathers, was through imports, through tariffs and duties. That's literally the way this whole country, the government itself, was supposed to be funded, not through a personal income tax. So he's actually going a lot closer to the founding of this country. I've even heard him floating up stuff like abolishing the IRS and getting rid of the income tax period. Hey, if you can raise enough tariffs, you actually can do that. Because that is literally, like, we're talking like core fundamental principles of this republic when it was founded 250 years ago, basically, right? Clover Tack, channel member, and a super chat. Well, thanks, Clover Tack. I appreciate it, man, and thank you for supporting the channel. He's complimenting my hair and my beard right now. Look, guys, I'm actually in the mood to cut it again, but it has been so cold. Like, I was out there shoveling sidewalks by myself, 40-mile-an-hour winds, wind chill just so much below zero. I didn't even want to check it, and I'm going to be out there doing that this weekend. Whew. Man, as soon as the weather warms up. But yeah, very, very stylish look I have going, and very functional. Very, very functional for being stuck out in the cold all night. And I'm going to be out in the freezing cold a lot this weekend. So there you guys go. Help keep the snow off my beard a little bit, off my face. It does help, though. I mean, there's pluses and minuses to all of it. How's your beard doing, Clover? 5 times bigger than mine, I think. Maybe. But anyway, so what are you guys thinking? You think of the average gun out there. It's going to be made essentially of steel and or aluminum or both. We also have finished products. So we can look at this 2 ways. We have all of our imports. And let's just talk about an import straight up. Like, you know it when you see it in import. So I have a couple different types of ammo sitting next to me here. All right. Here we have AAC. This stands for America's Ammunition Company. And this is made in the USA. It's in fact made in Columbia, South Carolina. I've watched them make this ammo several times right in front of my face in real life. Shout out to South Carolina. That's where this stuff's made. So this in and of itself, box of ammo, would not be affected right on its face by a direct import, meaning the box of ammo is not coming in from another country. Now look, this box of ammo and almost everything will still be affected by these tariffs when we start looking at commodities markets. I'll get to that in a minute. But right off the rip, this is not imported. You can see the American flag there, made in the USA. So this will dodge one of the aspects of a tariff, if you will. The ground level, right? Like there's a cargo ship coming in with containers, right? Here we have a box of Igman. I've had pretty good luck with Igman, actually. I think it's good ammo. They're 7.62 by 39. They're 5.56. I made a post about their 5.56 on Locals recently, if you guys want to read that post for some more information. But look, I've had pretty good luck with the Igman ammo. I like it. And this is an import. This comes in from Bosnia, Herzegovina. Okay. This is former Yugoslavia. And it's a nice, solid ammo. Yeah, check out Clover Tech's. Maybe done some on his channel. Check out the Clover Tech channel, longtime friend of the channel here and of mine. he's vouching, saying I love the Eggman 124 grain for sure, dude. I like their 124 grain 9 mil. I like their 124 grain X39 as well. Actually, their 5.56 I have far less experience with, but I'm trying to put together enough of these fake fiat currency pieces of paper here, right? I'm trying to get this with about 398 more of them together so I can get I'd like to try some of their 5.56 actually, through a fairly recent AK that I have, a 5.56 AK. So this is good ammo. This comes from Bosnia Herzegovina. What's the import tariff gonna be on this? Well, I don't know. I guess I'd have to go through and look, and I can do that. But I bet you, I don't know. Do they have tariffs on U.S. stuff? If they're charging even a 5%, I'm saying if, because there's so many countries, and this is also new. And I just told you guys I literally spent like 15 hours actually in the truck, pulling a literal all-nighter in the truck and out of the truck, doing salting and shoveling. And can I just go to bed right now? I don't even want to think about this. Wake me up when spring hits, okay? I hate snow. But yeah, I've just been listening to this stuff while I'm out plowing snow and shoveling. And they're saying reciprocal trade. What if Bosnia is putting a 5% tariff on the U.S.? Well, according to what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, not an economist, but Trump would then charge them 5%. So does that just mean the price goes up 5%? Maybe. Probably a little more than that, though. Probably a little more than that, because there's going to be some overall commodities things happening where the price of raw materials will probably go up in the U.S. and then could go up worldwide, right? Here's another box of ammo here. I tried to grab you guys just a little assortment just so we can think about this stuff. It could make all things go up a little bit. In the end, I think it's going to be okay, though. And I think the Trumpany could be better in the long run. I hope. I think there might be something to this. But right now, I can see a lot of goods going up, all right? Here's some Sig Sauer. 9mm. Now, if you look at Sig Sauer originally, or the heart of the company, however you want to call it, this is a foreign company. But see, now we've got Sig Sauer USA, which is an American company. And when you first see Sig Sauer, you think to yourself, well, that's foreign, right? Well, you used to think that. Probably not as much anymore because they do so much stuff here. Well, this is made in the USA, actually. So this is 115 grain ammo. This box is full. I've shot some of this stuff before. I had a whole case of it a few years ago. I plink with it from time to time, and it's just kind of pedestrian, you know. I've never had any problems with it. So as far as that goes, I'd say it's good ammo, I guess. It's nothing, though, that lifts my skirt up, per se. It won't lift your skirt up. But do any of you guys wear a skirt? Maybe. Made in the USA. Now, this is where it's going to be curious. This one's multi-pronged here. This is Russia. Welcome, everyone that's watching right now from Lansing. Shout out to Lansing, Michigan. Nice to see you, Minuteman. But, look, this is Russia. Now, this stuff was all completely banned by the former current vice president, if you know what I mean. I don't even like to say his name. I'm not a big fan of him. All right? Not a big fan of him. But this stuff's completely banned right now. Now, you've got a couple different things going on. Trump's trying to make a peace deal right now between Russia and Ukraine. He's talked to Putin on the phone, right? He's getting ready to talk to Putin in real life. Zelensky, maybe he has already. I've been out of it just like the last 2 days plowing snow. But he's in the works right now with trying to broker a major peace deal. I did hear him literally say this could involve removing some sanctions the U.S. has to help butter their bread a little bit to make this happen. Will the sanctions against Russia be lifted as part of all of this when it comes to their guns and ammo? I don't know. But I hope it is lifted, actually. I do. If Russia can pledge to do whatever it is that they need to agree to, and Ukraine can do the same thing, and they can, I'm using big air quotes for those of you listening, make good as they can over there. Look, I realize these two places aren't going to ever truly make good with each other, but you get my point. And part of that ends up lifting these sanctions against Russia. That'd be a great thing. This is something that's not imported anymore. But again, this could be something changing. Don't bet on it. But there's a chance. There's the biggest chance we've had in a long time. Maybe some of this stuff could come back. This is made out of steel for the casing. It also has it's called a bimetallic jacket, meaning it's primarily steel with a little bit of a copper or sometimes brass wash over it. Magnet attracts easily to the case. In this case, it also attracts easily to the projectile. Now, this is not a steel core ammo, okay? This is a lead core sporting arms ammo, per se, because if it had a steel core, it wouldn't be able to be imported here. I mean, this can't be imported either because of economic sanctions, but that would be yet again another reason why it wouldn't be able to be brought in if it was a true AP round, right? Or a solid penetrator steel core. But this stuff's gone either. So it's kind of like, well, why'd you bring that up? Well, I wanted to bring it up because I literally heard Trump say that maybe releasing or getting rid of some of the sanctions on Russia could be in the playbook. But here's the deal. This is Soviet arms ammo by AAC. This is made in the United States. Literally watch them make this stuff in real life. In fact, I'll show you guys something here you might like. I'm just going to grab that AAC box right there for you real quick. You guys think this box is just up here just for decoration? And it is, because I like the color blue. I like American-made ammo. I like the people that I've met at AAC. So there's all kinds of reasons I put that up there. No, this is not a paid sponsorship plug. You guys are the sponsors of this channel today. I just literally like this box here. But it's got some goodies in it, and I'll show you. You guys see that angle? There you go. Now, this came with me all the way from the factory floor at AAC from Columbia, South Carolina. Now, they do have a new version of this case with a new slick, I believe it to be zinc plating on it. I actually have some of that on its way that I'll be able to review for you guys soon. I did do a post on locals discussing that. But they're making steel cased ammo right here in the U.S. And I'm going to show you guys a couple little things here. Where this could come back around. Let me grab this projectile. See, you guys thought I was just going to open you a box of ammo up there. No, we're going to do a little better than that. I'm going to give you a little how it's made. Here was my earplugs I was using when I was shooting a little bit of this ammo at their home range. It's called Fernandino Drive. Has anyone been there before? Shout out to my southern viewers. I know for some of you are like, dude, that's my home store. Like, I go there when I get paid on Friday and whatever, and they have a range. And yeah, when I go down there and hang out in South Carolina, that's where I go shoot. Is that there? It's just a retail store where they have a range there. Nice place, by the way. I like South Carolina a lot. I wish I was down in South Carolina right now. I don't think they're getting the snow that we are here. Okay. Steel, 25% tariff. Now, we're back to what I said earlier, though. There's not going to be, like I said with this AAC, and let's come back over to here. There's not going to be just a straight-up tariff on the box of ammo like there might be from Bosnia, okay? Like there might be from Czech Republic, from France, from Canada, from wherever. But we're still looking at that commodity deal with that 25% tariff on the ammo. Or on the metal, I'm sorry. I'm saying the ammo as I'm looking at a steel case. Lots of rust-free cars there. Oh, my gosh. Does anyone work on vehicles in the Rust Belt? And then you look at a Southern vehicle, it's like, wow. Wow. Like, man. Shout out to the rust-free cars down there. Dude, Lance Webb, you have no idea how much time I've been spending on these old rust buckets up here, man. Truer, look. Lance Webb just said the truest, most profound thing that's ever been said right there. Why do you think I say shout out to all the Southern people? Like, you guys have like really clean, like old body styles. Man, in the Power Stroke world, they call it the OBS 7.3, right? You guys know what I'm talking about, meaning like pre-99, like a 97 F350 with the Power Stroke diesel. Oh, man. Whew. Man, let me know. Next time I'm down south, let me know. If somebody in here has that, I'm sure. Just invite me to come over and go for a ride in your truck so you can rub it in, okay? Let me go for a ride in your 1997 Ford or Chevy or Dodge that still has rocker panels on it and still has floor pans in it, all right? Do any of you still have rocker panels in your 25-year-old vehicle in the South? Because trust me, we don't. Nothing that's more than 10 years old or even usually 5 years old, quite frankly, has a rocker panel or a floor pan in any vehicles in this wretched state. All right, steel cased ammo. Magnet. Now, unlike the Russian ammo, we have a non-magnetic projectile here. All right. Non-magnetic projectile. So we don't have a steel jacket, but we do have in this case a copper alloy jacket. Back to metal commodities again. There's a good chance this steel could be coming ultimately. And I don't know where they source their steel from. I do not know that. Maybe they'd tell me if I asked. So in full disclosure, I didn't ask that question because I just found out about these tariffs recently. This might be U.S. steel, and therefore it might not be affected directly at all. Where does the steel come from? Maybe another country that might be subject to 25% tariff. But here's the thing, though. What if this steel does come from a steel producer in the U.S.? Let's just assume it does, and it might. It very well might. Well, we still have the potential for the steel to go up, don't we? Because if there's a big tariff coming in on all the other steel that's coming in, and look, especially when it comes to aluminum, I heard the lion's share of aluminum is getting imported from Canada actually into this country. And lots of steel too, because they have more electricity in Canada than we do. They literally do. They have more access to oil and many other natural resources in Canada, actually, than the United States does. Are they utilizing all of it? I didn't say that, but if you just look at the stores that they have, like underground, in the ground, huge mountain of resources in Canada, believe it or not. Canada's one, Trump's going after with the tariffs, one of the most. So even if this steel literally came from, let's just say it came from the hills of Pittsburgh, and it was forged and made all the way in Pittsburgh and brought in down to South Carolina, and it never left. Maybe not directly, but if you're putting tariffs on all the rest of the steel, even the steel for this case could go up. Are you guys following my logic? Again, not an economist, but this is just like a gun guy way of talking about things. I'm going to show you guys a little bit more with these steel cases in about 30 seconds, but I saw that I have 5 super chats. So that means in a little bit here, I will pause to take some viewer Q&A because that was the goal that I had set in here tonight. And let's see who made that happen. So Clover started off with number 1. All right. And Colin L came in with super chat number 2. Thank you for the super chat. He says, I'm half Scottish. I'd wear a kilt. Well, all right. I didn't say kilt, though. I said skirt. So you're close. You wouldn't wear a skirt, though, Colin. But he might wear a kilt, which is, I would say it's different. You guys let me know, but I would definitely put kilt in a different category. John Crump News. There he is. What's happening, Crump? How you doing, man? And thank you for the super chat. And he just put in number 3. Well, thank you for that 3rd super chat of the night. Look at this case. How do you think this would retain your projectile? Someone's looking at this and like, dude, are they making a steel cased 38 special? 357 Magnum. Yeah. See, look, guys, I have the first and only. See, you guys didn't know they did this, but look, AAC makes a steel cased 357 Magnum. Isn't that what that looks like? Huh? No, they don't. I'll show you what this is in 1 second. No, they don't. They're going to call me up. Dude, why'd you say we're making steel case 357 Magnum? No. But that is what it looks like when you first look at it, right? It's like, what is that? And it's steel. I'm holding it with a magnet. This is the super special round. It's classified info. What round is? Is it your birthday, Crump? I thought I saw someone say happy birthday. Probably something you put up on your YouTube channel. So if it's your birthday, happy birthday. I haven't done crap but be a zombie for the last 2 days straight due to snow. So if it is happy birthday, if not, well then screw you. Unhappy birthday if it's not. Sound good? Rudy Finney with a super chat. Well, thank you, Rudy. I appreciate it, man. And he was number 4. And now, if we're wrong here, happy birthday, Crump. We'll say that again. Thank you, Rudy. Rudy came in with super chat number 5 and said, happy early birthday, Crump. Well, there you go. Rudy, don't get me in trouble here. Now, me and Crump are friends. I just don't keep track of my friends' birthdays. And if he said it on his channel, and I do watch the John Crump News channel, subscribed, alerts are turned on. I haven't been subscribed to anybody for 48 hours. I'll tell you that much. Wait a minute now. That's not a magnet. We can see the bubble gum stuck to it. What do you guys think, Mateo? Well, what caliber is this? Right? Oh boy. Happy birthday Sunday. All right. Here's another offering. This is the Saber Blade Black Tip. They also have a new fancy case for this. I didn't get my hands on any of this yet. I bought like 7 boxes of their new FMJ steel case, and I will show those to you guys very soon. They actually arrived at home yesterday. I ain't been home. I've been sleeping at my shop and plowing. That's what you do when you get on this type of schedule, when it snows and snows more. This is a ballista tipped hollow point. Black tip. You can see the heavy cantilure in that bullet for sure. But the projectile itself, no magnet. But it is steel. Okay. Where's my 5.56 hate? Well, come on, man. What do you mean hate? There's been no hate here tonight. My 5.56 hate. You must be talking to somebody in the comments, man. 5.56 hey, well, welcome to the stream tonight. You might be a little late, which is all good. You come and go as you want in the stream. Dude, I've literally held up is that 5.56? You know what I mean? 5.56. 5.56. 5.56. 5.56. That was my most recent haul and stuff. I said earlier to start the stream, I want to buy a case of that Ignum 5.56. I know you're messing with me though. All right. So here's our case blank, we're going to basically call this. It hasn't been necked down yet. It's not even been heat treated yet. It's also not been primed yet, but we can see the primer pocket in here. Okay. So no, this is not a fired piece of brass, or technically steel in this case. And it's not steel case 357 Magnum. That was just a joke. This case is actually, magnet keeps sticking to it. Right here. Now, what round is this? I actually showed you guys the wrong one first. It's okay, though. What's this round? Look at this. Wow, that's what you call a true straight wall. This would be tough. This would be tough on the old extractor. What would you do if your gun was chambered in this round here? I mean, look at this thing. See? How would you ever get that round out of the chamber? You literally have to do it old school. All right? You'd have to do old school and fire the round and then get the old ramrod, the old cleaning rod, and smash it back out the other way. Wow, this round would be a nightmare. I just thought of that. Let's just pretend this was fired brass from something. All right. So there we go. There's an AAC 762 by 39. Now we're going to get to the point where they have formed in the extractor groove and the case head. All right. Some people would call this the rim. You can call it the rim if you want, but if something's not a rimmed round, it doesn't really have a rim per se. But this is your extractor groove. Right? Now we can see the next stage here. It's been heat treated. Okay, so there's that one. This is a steel case. How are these tariffs going to affect the steel from our ammo, the steel from the firearm frame itself, the aluminum that's in so many different frames, receivers, other parts of the firearm? I mean, it's everywhere. Literally. Heat treated here. I'm not going to talk about ammo all night. This stuff actually affects the firearms themselves as far as the extra tariffs on the steel and aluminum more than ammo. We can't touch guns while we're live on YouTube. So, but we can touch the ammo, or in this case, this isn't even ammunition. This is just components here. Thereof pre-production components, if you want to know the truth. Oh, it just fell out of my hand. This one still had a little bit of, I think, machining oil on it yet. But now you can see that the neck has been formed here. There we go. The bottleneck, whatever you want to call it, because 7.62 by 39 is a bottlenecked cartridge. Here's the component bullet. This is a full metal jacket, a jacketed lead core bullet, as we can see here with the lead on the tail. And then we have our cantilever here, which helps in retaining the bullet into the case for two reasons, really. One reason is you don't want your bullet just to fall out of the case while it's in transit or it's in your range bag or in your magazine. Clearly, that's why you want to have a crimp on the neck, crimped into what's called this cantilever. That's the little round band around the bottom of it where there's little vertical ridges in it. Okay. The other reason you want to have your case mouth, this is the mouth here on the very upward portion of the neck, crimped, with the cantilever adding just that little bit of extra bite for it, because you don't have to have a cantilevered bullet. And some people actually don't like them. But other people like them for different reasons. And another reason is when you first ignite this round, okay, think about this. First, the case itself becomes a pressure vessel. The initial pressure that's required for your projectile, your bullet to project out of the barrel, it's literally it's all a pressure vessel. First, the case itself becomes the pressure vessel until it can build up enough pressure for it to leave the case. The case neck here is going to seal in the chamber. It's going to expand momentarily, just for a little while, but that's all it needs because it happens super fast. It's going to continue until on certain types of firearms, the whole back end of the bullet leaves the bore, and then the pressure is going to rapidly deaccelerate. In other cases, you may have a barrel that's been drilled for a gas system, right? Where as soon as the bullet leaves the gas port, the back of the bullet, some pressure starts to rapidly bleed off, going up through the gas system. That's how, let's say, an AK with a long stroke gas piston, it just rams gas right into the face of that piston, which is connected to the carrier and bolt, sending it back and the spring returning it home. You're also, when the gun comes out of battery, going to have gas loss there, but that's not until, unless there's something wrong going on or the gun's not sprung right, the bullet should have already been leaving the barrel before you have a bunch of gas pressure coming back in your face. It does happen on some guns where you shoot too hot of a low with, let's just say, a straight blowback. But generally speaking, that's how that works. Well, there's certain cases for rounds to achieve certain pressure characteristics, which can equate to velocity in many cases, right? Where they want to keep that pressure building up just a little bit higher in the case for it to function. So that's another thing that a nice crimp, okay, there's a machine that actually applies a slight crimp, meaning grabs on. It's crimping just like anything else. If you're putting like some crimp clamps on pliers with pliers on, I don't know, like black sprinkler line or just whatever you would do, crimping a butt connector together for electrical wiring. Same principle, just a little different type of die. Crimping in and making it bite in. That cantilever could hold that bullet in there just a little bit longer to allow it to build up the case pressure that is optimal for the design of the ammunition. Does that make sense? And it has nothing to do with tariffs. Hopefully these rabbit holes don't bore you guys too much. It's just when I think of things, I like to throw it out there. Maybe it's interesting to somebody. How well would this shoot if we loaded it backwards? Would it work as a little wide cutter? It might have a hard time getting up the feed ramp, though. For all you guys that are ammo wizards, how would that shoot? If you pressed it into that case neck backwards, you might have to thumb it in there manually into the chamber. It might just literally hit the feed ramp in a semi-auto. Or would it not engage the rifling and you just have it kaboom right in your face? I don't know. I don't recommend doing this, by the way. I don't at all. Would it even fire? And if it did, what would happen? Don't do this. And I'm not doing it either. I'm just holding you guys up. I was just looking at it. I'm like, I'll just set that in there to keep it from falling out. And I'm like, ooh, that'd be a wicked wide cutter. But I don't reload, so I would have no idea what it would do. That's why I do not recommend loading it like that. I know with certain guns, you can load them in backwards, like certain 38 special bullets and stuff like that. But I've never heard of anybody loading up what's called a Spitzer point. You guys ever hear that? Spitzer? That's where it's real pointy. That was something that started becoming mainstay in military ammo right around the turn of the century before last. Late 1800s. And before that, everything used to just be kind of a round nose. But yeah, I got some neat little jiggly bits of some of the different stages. And I have this for 5.56 as well. And I've literally showed that. But yeah, we do have steel ammo production in the US right now. And that extra tariff. What about all the AR receivers? Aluminum? Ooh. Lots of aluminum. How many AR guys are out there? Tons of aluminum in an AR. Also a good bit of steel. The barrel is going to be your heaviest component. Shift into the AK realm of things, you're talking pretty much just steel, right? I mean, steel furniture, in addition to that, obviously. In some cases, even most of your furniture is steel, right? If you've got like a wire folder or triangle folder, under folder, you're looking at where your stock in many cases can be steel too on certain guns. So if the gun itself is made in one of these other countries with the reciprocal tariff, we're going to see that tariff applied to it right then and there. But what do you guys think about guns made in America? Where are they getting their metal at? Where are they getting their steel and aluminum from? It's a good question, isn't it? Now, you could have like a forging, okay, where AR lowers and uppers come into pretty much any manufacturing facility as a rough forging, and they have to go through and machine it out, right? CNC machines, and go through and do all that, and it's crazy. There's like way more scrap in an AR upper or lower, as far as the so-called receivers of the upper and lower, than there is finished product. So if it weighs like 4 pounds going in and it comes out at 8 ounces, like 90% of the weight is actual scrap, which then gets recycled and melted down. But where did the raw aluminum come from, though, originally? So this is the weird thing. You can say, I believe, again, I'm not an expert on the law, but I believe you can say that your part's made in the USA, even if raw materials came in from another country, if you did the substantial work with it here. So if you just had a completed receiver come in from, I don't know, let's say Poland, that would be an import. You'd know it when you see it. But what if like the big chunks of aluminum, right? Just the raw, aluminum that's been processed into, let's say, T7075 aluminum, and then it gets melted down, all right? And then it gets either forged or it's machined from a billet, or maybe in some cases it's poured into a casting. Just depends on the company. And even with ARs, we see some that'll that'll brag that they're a billet. Some will brag that they're a forged, and you guys could have debates back and forth. Would you rather have a billet, AR upper and lower, a match set, or is a forging good enough? Is it the best? Look, these have been debates for the ages, and some of you guys may want to chime in, but where'd the aluminum come from? I believe the aluminum could be melted down into a forging, it's called. If it's a forged AR, okay? If the receiver is here, and it would still be considered a receiver made in the USA. I believe that's the way that works. Maybe that aluminum did, though, the material itself, maybe it got a 25% tariff when it came here. Look, if there's a Ford factory here in the USA, they'll say the truck was made in America, even though we're now finding out the lion's share of the aluminum in this country, the vast majority, much of which is used for the automotive industry and many other industrial industries, the aluminum is actually coming from Canada. So just because it says made in the USA does not mean that there's not materials getting imported in, let alone maybe even completed parts that are brought in from other countries. Because you can put some foreign parts on a gun and still say the gun is American. If you've ever researched imports and the whole 922R thing, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. That's a whole nother way to look at it. So what if the materials are coming in here, even though otherwise the product was still made in the USA? Now, even if all the natural material, like elemental aluminum, it's an element, it comes from the earth. It was mined out of the ground here. It was processed here. The forging was made here. The machine work was done to it, and it's 100% American as much as it can be. Then if the tariffs are on the imports, which is a large amount, how do you guys think that affects domestic supply? You think it will at all? Sean Zimmerman saying we make 860,000 metric tons of aluminum in the USA. That sounds like a lot of aluminum, right? Is that enough to meet the demands of the USA would be the question. Because I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you're saying that because it's just very generic the way you're saying it, which is fine. But are you saying like we make 860,000 metric tons of aluminum? Like that's not much, which shows you how much we need to still import? Or are you saying like that's a ton? Because I don't know the exact supply. I mean, that's a huge number, obviously, when you first look at it, but that doesn't sound like much either. I would assume the U.S. is going through many, many millions of tons of aluminum per year. I would assume like a lot. Just look at all of the different industries. Now we're thinking in our industries here with guns and ammo and all the different accessories out there and things that go along with Second Amendment stuff. It might not seem like a lot, but you just look at one motor vehicle. Now you've had some companies in recent years going to aluminum bodies on the vehicles, like whole aluminum bodied pickups and stuff, right? But even look at an older truck or car. Dude, we've been dealing with like aluminum blocks on engines and aluminum transmissions, housings. I mean, there's just so much aluminum in a vehicle, like tons and tons of it, right? So yeah, okay, some of you guys are looking up stuff here. It sounds like we don't really produce a whole lot, right? Like as huge as that number is, 860,000 metric tons. We're refined, okay? Primary production, so refined from the ground, and that's the analogy I gave earlier. And then at 6 smelters, okay. In addition, U.S. industry recycled 3.4 million. That's a lot, but we have a huge country now with what, like 350 million people in it, or I think even more than that now. How much do we bring in from Canada? How much do we bring in from China? Now, I was talking to somebody at a local scrapyard here. Here's where it gets real interesting. And they were talking about China buying scrap. And I'm like, from who? They're like, from us. So I'm like, wait a minute, let me get this straight. And I know it's probably more complicated than this, but this is what I was told by somebody at a scrapyard. Again, are they an expert? I don't know, but they might know more than me. So I know a lot of you guys probably are experts, so chime in. But I heard what happens a lot is scrap's collected in many ways, but let's just say you go down to your local scrapyard and you turn in, I don't know, 1,000 pounds of what they call shred. That's the lowest grade scrap because it has like, you can still have bits and pieces of other things. And then you also go in with, let's just say, number 1 grade aluminum. It's an aluminum ladder, and you took all the little plastic pieces off of it, which you have to do if you don't want them to dock you a little bit. All right. You take that aluminum ladder in. Well, that's going to be worth a lot more, just that one ladder, than 1,000 pounds of what's called shred. Now you take in some pure copper pipe, shiny copper pipe. If you guys have ever scrapped like shiny brass and shiny copper, will even bring more than like if it's dull. That's worth a bit more. They said that a lot of that scrap actually gets packaged up after you've turned it in here to be recycled, gets packaged up and sent over on ocean freighters and sent back to China for them to process the scrap and actually do the recycling. So so China will sell us finished goods, but from what I understand, China buys into a lot of scrap metal in the United States. Isn't that interesting? How would that work? How would that work? They have totally different labor laws in China. They have totally different government restrictions in China. This is a communist country. So you look at, there could be a reason where it's plausible where a U.S. company might want to send the raw material over to China. And this is totally separate from what's happening, Frank. How you doing, man? My friend Frank's in the chat tonight. He knows how nice it is down at Columbia, South Carolina. And he can vouch for everything I'm talking about in the AAC factory. Maybe we've been there a couple times before, Frank, right? Maybe we've been there once or twice. But look, they're buying scrap from us to process it and do what they do. I also believe there's companies that literally send material to China. They might send the tooling to China. Certainly some of the blueprints, the whatever you want to call it, the schematics might be a better term for a lot of this stuff, right? The drawings, we'll just call it the drawings for lack of a better word, over to China. And they make it over there and then ship it back over here. Well, if you've got reciprocal trade, how would that work? Now here's the thing. China's the one big thing that gets talked about it a lot. Canada also. What about places like, let's look through here. I just showed you some Bosnian ammo earlier. Here's the S&B. I'm going to pronounce it the American way. Cellular and Balat. Okay? All of you guys can educate me. It's not Cellular and Balat. Cellular and Balat. I speak English. Thank you very much. But look. Made in Czech Republic. And maybe one of you guys can search in real time. I don't want to take the time to do it, but what's the tariff that Czech Republic charges the United States? Well, whatever that is, that's what their ammo is going to get tariff now coming in. Wouldn't this suck? What if Czech Republic... Look, I still think Trump's onto something with these tariffs, guys. And it literally goes back to the core fundamentals of how this country's supposed to be funded. Here's what it's going to come down to. I think it's going to hurt for a little while for consumerism of a lot of things. But if Trump can just get through his plan that he's working on, I think I know where he's heading with this. You start bringing more jobs back into the United States again, all right? It was even like, I was just talking to a friend on the phone, my other friend Frank, who knows my other friend Frank that's in the chat. There's two Franks. They're both friends, all right? But look, the other Frank, right, Frank? I was talking to him on the phone earlier today, and we were just talking about this tariff thing. And it's like, dude, like if you look at an American-made tool, let's think about tools and guns for a minute here. You look at an American-made tool like a Snap-on wrench. These prices are just through the roof. Has anyone been on a Snap-on truck lately? I actually hadn't bought anything Snap-on lately. My friend Frank has. Dude, just the price they get for like just a socket, a wrench. I mean, these are good tools. Not knocking any of you guys who owe your soul to the Snap-on truck. It is what it is. But look, this is a made in the USA tool. It's gotten to the point where all of the mechanics tools that are made in the USA, this is premium top shelf stuff. You're going to pay for it. Is it worth it or not? You guys can debate that all day. I know mechanics are making a great living with stuff from Harbor Freight and all sorts of other Astro Pneumatic, different imports, right? Well, now we've just kind of almost forgotten in so many ways. But right now, if you want something made in the USA, that like really means something. And it should mean something like made in the USA. That's awesome, right? But now it's basically only just super high-end stuff. If you want made in the USA fittings, those are going to cost you more than fittings from China, whether they're electrical fittings, whether they're pipe fittings. Certain things are made in the USA more than others, but you get my point. Look at a snap-on wrench, what that costs just for one wrench, let alone a set. But I said, but just think about it. Even if you go back to the 1990s, even all the way into the early 2000s, up to maybe 2000, I can't remember the exact year, but even in the early 2000s, you can still go to Sears and buy a Craftsman wrench. Now, was it as good as a Snap-on? I don't know. You tell me, because I've done a lot of wrenching on vehicles in my life, and you will have these debates, and they're friendly debates, they're fierce debates. Sometimes they're for fun, sometimes they're nasty debates. Don't get too nasty. We're here to have a good time tonight, but you could buy a Craftsman wrench for a working man's blue-collar budget at Sears. I own a lot of Craftsman tools. I think they're pretty good, actually. For the most part, some better than others, but I always liked them. They're made in the U.S. And then while Sears was still in business, now Sears is like literally gone. But then all of a sudden you started to see the Craftsman wrenches, and they're made in China, Taiwan. And you can still buy the Craftsman brands at all kinds of stores like Lowe's and Amazon and whatnot. Yeah, a regular old ratchet or socket or combination wrench, it ain't going to be made in America anymore. But if you just go back 25 years ago, you could buy a working man's blue-collar budget tool at Sears for $10, where back then the Snap-on version would have cost you $30. But now it's $10 for the Chinese Craftsman, and the Snap-on will cost you $100. So here's a little bit of optimism I'm giving y'all. If we can get more jobs here, more money flowing through our economy. Look, China's getting richer by the day. In just about 5 or 6 years, they're going to have surpassed us on the assets in their military, as far as how much money they have to put into their military. It's kind of crazy. China's growing every day. Now, they have their own economic issues, too. I know it's really complex. I'm not an economist. I'm just barely tipping my pinky toes in this to see how it's affecting all of us in the real world. But at the same time, back when we used to make a lot of stuff here, dude, I remember almost everybody I knew was doing better back in the day than they are now, right? Seems like it. The economy's pretty dang tough right now. Now, there's been times that were worse, too, in the past, but I don't think that if a lot more stuff becomes made in the USA, I don't think that we're all of a sudden going to see a Craftsman wrench for $100 like a Snap-on. The Snap-on costs that for several reasons. There's not much stuff made in the USA anymore. They have a huge reputation. They have the convenience of the tool truck, and you are paying a lot of that money for how high quality of a tool it is. You truly are, but you're also paying money for the name. And you're also, it's so hard to run a business in this country. That's why a lot of the increased price is there, where it's not into the Chinese tool. But if along with these tariffs, he starts making more stuff in the U.S., gets it where businesses, because the president doesn't make anything, but if he can get rid of restrictions, get rid of the government bloat, the bureaucracy, all the craziness, just look what they're doing right now with this Doge, uncovering all of this stuff. Look, you get more regular old-fashioned people in this country. And I mean regular as in like a guy that sweeps the floors, to the guy that actually runs the machines, making the wrenches, to the computer whiz that's doing the programming the computers, that's fixing the CNC machines when they break, to the guy that literally, when that factory's doing good, then they can hire a guy like me to mow their lawn and to plow their snow. See what I'm saying? A guy that sits and talks on the internet to you guys and literally is out there shoveling and salting and mowing lawn and stuff. I do better when there's companies thriving in the United States. And like, dude, it wouldn't just suck for the companies I work for and the homeowners I work for if like they go out of business, and it would suck for them, obviously, but it would suck for me. You know, because what if there's a local shop in town? and they just have to go out of business because the boot of the government on their neck's been too much. They can barely afford to keep their company going, and now they have to pay for more DEI, woke stuff, high taxes, onerous regulations, just all of this stuff on our necks. The government boot on the neck, they lose their job. Well, they're not going to have me plow snow anymore when they're out of business. Well, maybe one of my homeowner customers across the street works there. Now I don't cut their lawn either. Well, maybe one of you guys works at a place that sells lawnmower blades. I'm not going to buy as many lawnmower blades if I'm not cutting as much grass. Maybe one of you guys work at a gas station. I'm not going to be buying as much gas if I've lost my accounts. So, and this all ties in with the gun industry too. We're not buying as much guns and ammo right now, and that's why it's such a buyer's market, because this country sucks to live in so many ways. We've had a draconian government for a long time, especially over the last 4 years, literally doing everything they possibly can to ship all kinds of money across the world, grease each other's palms, make all these unholy alliances, literally robbing all of us blind, hyper printing money, causing inflation through the roof, and making people even scared to start a business and even scared to exist in so many cases. And it all just trickles down to everything, to guns, to ammo, to wrenches, to whatever. Well, let me tell you what, the price of all this stuff in this country is what's making it harder for you to afford your guns, harder to afford your ammo. We open up a bunch of nice big facilities in the U.S., and they say, well, we need AI, we need data centers. I don't know. I know they say we need. I'm kind of old school. I'd like to see us, forging more steel here in the U.S. again. I'd like to see more people turning wrenches here, more people swatting nails. I'd like to see more semi-trucks of trusses coming in, because there's something to that, man. People working, people making money in this country. So if Trump can take the boot of the government off of the necks of the American people and the American businesses, if he can get rid of all these darn taxes, and I say him, meaning it might not just be him literally, he can do some stuff by executive order, but a lot of that's getting swatted down by these liberal judges, and they need impeached tomorrow, and they need removed from office tomorrow. Some of these judges have gotten to the point right now where they're just so rogue right now, it's going to come to a head eventually, and I hope Trump just keeps pushing them harder. Because I'm sorry, when there's something where they're literally sitting there trying to uproot and get rid of a bunch of fraud, now they're saying in many cases, and certainly despicable spending, gray area spending, if not out and out fraudulent spending, and blocking them from uncovering it, it's literally insane. No, we need to make stuff here. If you ever did have to, and I hope this day never comes, we better watch out, because if stuff keeps going the way it has been, our country's going to be in the world of hurt. We're going to get our butts kicked. We're heading in that trajectory right now. But look, if it gets to the point where we had to go to war with China. Now, let's see here. If you were looking at it from China's perspective, and now I'm just talking about tariffs generally. I already said I think they're going to affect the firearms and bump the prices up a little bit right now. Okay, whatever. Dude, if my gun goes up $10, let's just say, or even $50, but all of a sudden I now start making an extra 100 a week, or I'm taxed 100 less, or the equivalency thereof, that's still a net win for me. We go to war against China. Right this minute, I don't know what would happen, actually. Literally makes me sick to my stomach to even think about it. Dude, look, there's literally carnage going on in Russia and Ukraine like we haven't seen since the World Wars. That's how many young men have died, and even older men too, because especially in Ukraine, they're sending people out in their 40s and 50s. Me, the Ukrainian government, corrupt as all get out. Money laundering place, blah, blah, blah. But many, many awesome, like literally regular people live there. It's so sad. So sad. Putin, probably not a guy I'd sit and hang out with too much or anything. It doesn't seem like he's that great. He seems like he's smart, though. I will give him that. He does seem like he's smart. I think Putin's a lot smarter than Zelensky, if you just want to talk about intelligence. But look, it's just, that's carnage. You ain't seen nothing yet. If the U.S. had to go head to head, now nuclear war, we're all dead. There's enough nukes that would literally destroy everything in the world thousands of times over. So don't even think about that. You can't think about it. You want to be able to go to sleep at night. You can't even think about if there was a full-fledged nuclear war. Before you could stop thinking about it, everyone would be dead in the whole world. So let's just move that. Let's say it's more of a conventional war, ground troops, artillery. Has anyone looked at how big their army is lately? Now I'm bringing this back around to tariffs and all that too. Dude, they just have so many people. They're building aircraft carriers bigger than ours. I mean, I'm not a fan of China. God bless all of our troops. I'm not saying a Chinese soldier is better than an American soldier. I'm not saying that. But I will say this. We've had a woke military for years now. A woke military. There's literally people been signing up for the United States services throughout, I think, all the branches, literally so they could get a sex change on the American taxpayer dollar. You think China's doing that? No. I'll tell you the answer right now. Not even close. Do you think Russia's doing that? No. Not even close. Now, you want to go to war, you need people that are fit. Physically, mentally, you need someone who's a killing machine if he's in the infantry, not out there because they were the blue and purple-haired DEI hire. You remember that? One of our ships literally burned down, one of our big boats, military watercraft, burned down a couple years ago, and they said they couldn't put out the fire because they had been spending so much time with the DEI training that they hadn't gotten to the putting a fire out on the ship training yet. Don't believe me? Go look at it. Go look at it. That literally happened. Go look it up in the news. Hopefully a couple of you guys remember it, because I know what I said doesn't sound right, but it's true. This was a couple of years back. They said, well, they couldn't put out the fire. They had gone through so much DEI training that they couldn't get to the putting out a fire on the ship part yet. Now, let's look at making stuff here. Just imagine this scenario. I don't want it. But, see, a couple of you guys remember this. But imagine we're in somewhat of a conventional enough war where the whole world's not going to literally turn into a ball of fire or a nuclear freeze or whatever would happen. Because it gets really hot, but then it gets really cold because the sun's blocked. This is not a good thing. Everybody dies if we launch every nuke we have. So I'll move on. It's a little more conventional, as in we've got troops shooting at each other with guns. We've got aircraft and ships bombing, launching artillery, all these different things. We've got our tanks and our whatevers. So just imagine something even resembling that, where there's a good hard fight for a long time, but it's not literally poof, everyone dies. Now, could you imagine any country being out there? So we're fighting China. We're a year into this war and back and forth, They've lost 500,000 from their army, and they're happy because it's less mouths to feed. And then they just bring 500,000 more right up to the front line. Look how big their army is. It's scary. And then, they've lost 500,000. We've lost 100,000. Hopefully it's not the other way around or we're done. Just look at how many more people they have than us. That country has like billions of people in it. It's just like you can't even comprehend it. So, and then we're like, excuse me, China, but we'd like to place an order of steel so we can replace some of our tanks that you blew up. China's going to be like, excuse me? I'm saying to the point where it's a literal hot war. Sir, Mr. Xi Jinping, we'd like to buy enough steel so we can make some more up-armored Humvees and some more tanks to kill your people with. They're going to say, screw you, you're cut off. Okay. And then they'll say, well, we'd like to build our tanks here, which we still build a lot of stuff here. And see, that's the thing. Trump's bringing a lot of this stuff back into America. And here's why I like these tariffs. Well, hold on. We need some more steel. Where's the steel? Oh, well, the shipment from China didn't come. You're screwed. What about lead? What about gunpowder? All this stuff comes from other countries. China controlling the interest in things like lead, the raw materials for gunpowder. What if the American, just regular civilians and or your troops get a little infection and need to buy a little tube of antibiotic ointment? That's all made in China. What if you get a headache and need to buy, I don't know, a little just headache over-the-counter pill? That's most likely made in China. A lot of our food is now coming in from other countries, China, and many other places. So this whole idea where it's like, all right, we'll just keep on buying cheap goods, cheap goods, cheap goods. That's great to a point, and I get it. I've bought it too. I can't afford to buy all this stuff, but I think once we can start making enough stuff here in the USA again, the prices won't have to be as high on made in the USA stuff. I think once it becomes more prolific, capitalism, it has its cons. Oh, does it have its cons? But it does have some perks too, meaning somebody won't be able to just charge like any price they want because it's the only thing in the category made in the USA. They'll have competition. You stop taxing all these businesses and all these regular people, workers to death. It's going to free up more money on people's paycheck, and it's also going to reduce the burdens from these companies where they don't have to include that in their finished product. It's true. Because some people will say this, and I think it's kind of a weak argument. They're like, oh, if you reduce taxes on the businesses, it'll just make the millionaires and billionaires more rich because they'll hoard it all for themselves, and they won't reduce your prices at all. In a vacuum, if they were the only company, yes, but it's called competition. So one guy can sit there and charge twice as much for his made in the USA wrench as the other one, and let's say they both make equally good wrenches in this case, because quality matters. But let's just say hypothetically, a company makes just as good of a wrench as the other. Word gets out, everybody knows it, and the one guy's so greedy, he's like, I will charge double of the wrench, and I will go from being a billionaire to a multi-billionaire. Yeah, it doesn't exactly work like that, though. Okay, if you have a government that's not dictating and making unholy alliances, in other words, like an oligarchical, somewhat fascistic system, which is what we live in now, yeah, they won't be able to do that. They'll have to charge a reasonable price. If a competitor has a reasonably quality product, that's the way that works. And all of those taxes and regulations and restrictions. Dude, I've been to certain companies before where just their compliance and legal department takes like so much of their payroll. All of that has to be put back in to the price of the finished product or service. That's not free. Nothing's free. But when you literally have to have like dozens and dozens of accountants to understand our super convoluted, messed up tax system, all these lawyers, all these different people who are specialists in just like how to file the blah, blah reports. You know what I mean? All of that's just extra bloat that the boot of the government is putting on the necks of you. Because when they put it on the neck of the billionaire business owner, he's still going to be a billionaire regardless. All right. And all business owners are not billionaires. I'm just giving you that far reaching example for the very few who are. He's still a billionaire right now, but everything you're buying is going up in price more. Crap always flows downhill, as the saying goes. So I know where Trump's heading with this. I'm not saying for sure he can do it. I don't know. I'm a little nervous like everybody on all of the things that in my life it could affect. But just remember this, when it comes to our guns and ammo, we've been in a buyer's market for a long time. And if stuff has to go up a little bit in the meantime, and there'll be something, and then there'll be a light at the end of the tunnel. Okay. I know there's a couple hopes and wishes there, but I think Trump's got a lot of this stuff figured out when it comes to this. I really do. Look, I'll rip on the guy when I need to rip on him. But when it comes to this, I think he's onto something. If you literally look back at the founding of this country, right, when the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, they also says your paycheck shall not be infringed. Do you guys remember that famous quote by Franklin? Those who would give up an essential liberty, right, for just a little bit of perceived safety or security will wind up with neither and deserve neither. I mean, I paraphrased it, but that's what he said. Remember that? You know what that was over? That was for a small local tax that they were looking to imply. They said, well, that's for security. We need to start taxing the people here so we can provide some types of like, it was like a safety. I think they were going to put up fences and guards or something along those lines. And he said, no. if you give up your liberty, which think about what liberty even means. Yes, liberty is the right to keep and bear arms, of course. Of course it is. Liberty is also the right to your labor. The liberals all say, well, we have the right to our body. Yeah, let's turn it around. We have the right to our body too, and the fruits of our own labor. The way we are taxed and overregulated is literally theft. You work with your mind or your hands or both in life, right? And every breath you take is a gift from God. And they're all counted and they're all measured. And I believe that God knows every hair on your head even before you were born. I do believe that's what an omnipresent creator means. But whatever we have that we put forth, that's time you ain't ever going to get back. Now, somebody comes in and steals 20, 30% of that from you, or more in many cases. By the time we're taxed a million ways and regulated a million ways, they're actually like taxing like 100% of your money. You're literally working like twice as much just that you should need to just to even get by the little bit you can. So yeah, that applies to the Second Amendment and guns as much as anything, but it also applies to taxes, thinking you could purchase a little bit of security. And the government will keep you safe if you just pay them more money. No, the federal government was supposed to be teeny, tiny, tiny in their scope and in what they do. And here's the ironic part, how I started this stream. This is how I'm going to end it. If you think about it, the federal government has very, very few powers. But one of its powers of the president is to execute the law of the land, the Constitution. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. If he can execute laws, of course he can and needs to, especially protect, defend, and execute the Constitution, which says shall not be infringed. That's literally what it is. Go read in the Constitution and talk and look at how much the personal income tax rate is supposed to be. The inheritance tax, the death tax, the FCC tax, the Schubert pressure tax. It's not how the country was set up. If Trump can put more money back into our economy, keep it here. If more stuff's made here, if more people are working here, if more people can have thriving businesses here. And when you get the government out of people's lives and their businesses, most people can do just fine, actually. Get rid of all the entitlements. Get rid of them paying tens of thousands of dollars so someone can join the military to get a sex change. Now, I know Trump's already getting rid of a lot of that right now as we speak. He's the chief executive and also the commander-in-chief. But all of this stuff that he's doing is all tied into one thing. And it's actually getting us much closer to how this country was founded, actually. If you get rid of a bunch of the bloat, it appears they're uncovering a lot of that through this so-called Doge and through other methods. Get rid of a lot of the bloat, a lot of the extortion, a lot of the fraud, whatever it is. And they found all of that so far from what I've noticed. Get rid of these abilities to write blank checks. Look, gender studies in Pakistan and all this. I mean, it's like, give me a break. So yeah, I think guns and ammo and everything that's made of commodities. We've got metals involved, highly involved in guns and ammo. And then the import taxes. Look, if Czech Republic's charging, I'm making this up, a 10% tariff, and all of a sudden all ammo from them goes up 10%, it will suck. But here's the kicker. It's hard right now to have a new ammo company just start up because there's too many government regulations on them. Way too many. It's insane. You have to spend so much in overhead just to stay in compliance, just to have the building built a certain way, all this. Now, we need safe buildings and all of that's fine, but at the same time, just all of the craziness, the paperwork, the bureaucracy, that's involved in this, there's lots of overhead, and it's very, very difficult to start an ammo manufacturing company in this country. It really is. And then you have all the local and state hurdles and laws and all this stuff. It's insane. There's an excise tax on all guns and ammo. You guys know that, right? In addition to all the other taxes. It just gets so thick, you need hip waders just to wade through all of it. Well, it would suck for a while. And that's why it was BS. And I told you guys this before, the Czechoslovak group, when they were allowed to buy up the largest ammo manufacturers in the U.S., owned by a Czech company. I knew that was terrible, and it was coming back to bite us in the butt. I hope it's not too bad, but we'll see. But look, if this ammo goes up $1 a box, will people still be able to buy it? This is a weird offering. It's literally rubber shotgun shells, but just pretend it's 9 mil. We'll go back to this one or whatever. The Igman, nice ammo from Bosnia. Say this goes up 10% due to reciprocal tariffs. All right, well, let's say it goes up 20%. Ooh, but hold on. What if Trump can get rid of a lot of the regulations and taxes and get some of the old jackboot off of the necks of the Americans? And now all of a sudden, an American company is like, hold on a minute. I couldn't have made this for the same price before, right? But now that things are different in this country and it's more of a pro-business and more pro-American-made economy, now I can get in the game, see? Because in many cases, you might get hit with all these, again, you could call them tariffs. There's all these internal tariffs on our goods right now. That's the thing. So people are opposed to tariffs. I get it. Some of you guys watching this probably disagree with everything I'm saying tonight. Look, I hope we can still be friends. And I'm not mad at you. You're like, dude, this guy is nuts. Look, but I just want you to think about one more way here. And then I'm going to take a couple questions from the chat because we did get 5 super chats tonight. And I appreciate all of you guys that are the sponsors of this channel. You didn't get an ad read tonight, did you? No, just check the links down in the description, and it's ways all of you guys can support. We already have internal tariffs. It's called the jackboot of the government. All these extra regulations, surcharges, extra taxes. A lot of other countries don't have all that on them. So they get an unfair advantage over the American business owner where they can send it in cheaper than what the American company could even make it for. Well, you reduce a lot of those burdens and taxes on the local company, and they might be like, that's great. This stuff's $12 a box. Now our foreign competition's gone. Trump comes in, the economy's better. He deregulates a lot of this, removes some of the tax burdens. I'm saying this all has to work. I'm not saying Trump can do it. I'm just saying it sounds like a good idea. I hope he can. So if him along with Congress can do all this, now the guy in the U.S. is like, dude, now I can make this for $9 a box. No. Well, now I'm no longer mad that this went up from $10 a box here to 12. When hopefully for a long, long time, it's $9 a box for the USA made stuff. Does that make sense? And then I get to see the guy, that's working down the street at the ammo company, work hard. Maybe he's getting some overtime because we're buying all this good, cheap, ammo. And maybe he's earning a decent wage. And you get to see him go buy that new car he wants, or he buys a new small house for him and his beautiful wife and children, and just things like that. And then maybe when he goes to buy that car, maybe my friend that's a mechanic will get a little extra work, and maybe he'll hire me to cut his grass because he's so busy making ammo for all of us. And then now I'm cutting more grass, and guess what? I can go buy more ammo from him. And my friend that's a mechanic working on his car that he bought can go buy more ammo. So now me and my mechanic friend are out shooting together. Just think about that. And then the other company, who's a good customer of mine, and at least one of you watching knows who I'm talking about, maybe they're building so many great, huge factories and buildings that maybe they even have more grass for me to cut. And then I can buy more ammo from down the road. See? There is a way for all of this to work, and I hope that it can. I hope it can. Am I guaranteeing you guys that Trump's capable of it? Nope, I'm not. I think he's the best chance we've had in the White House in a long time for some of this. I do. So there you go. I'm giving you guys no promises Trump can do it. I'm just saying, I think these tariffs can make it tough for a little while here with many things in our lives, including guns and ammo. But I see potential for things to get a lot better if it's coupled with the deregulation, okay, detaxing, untaxing, however you want to word it. And we really shouldn't have any income tax at all, actually. So there you go. There's my answer. Get rid of the income tax, fund the country with tariffs, and there should be a lot less money needed than there is now because 90% of it needs to just go away. Probably even 99% of it needs to go away. And I think the tariffs would do just fine. Do you guys have any questions in the chat? I will answer questions for a couple minutes here. Take a sip of my blackout coffee. They do have a sale going on over there right now. Check my link that's down there in the description. Midwest Longer, you weren't asking me, but since it's a Q&A, it's just a question. Throw in some questions real quick. If you guys have any. Questions, comments, concerns. What does SC mean? It's probably South Carolina, but I don't know the context. So he might be talking about something different. But I just wanted an excuse to say hi to you, Midwest Logger. Nice to see you, man. How come everything comes back to you making more? Well, that's what I want. I want you, and all of you to make more money. That'd be awesome, right? That'd be awesome. And if you're saying you in caps like me, literally, dude, I'm just doing what people do when they talk. I don't know about all of the ways you guys make money in life. So I can explain to you how it might work, like where you mow somebody's lawn and all of that kind of stuff. And then I have more money for ammo. So if that's what you're wondering about, I don't know. Maybe you could explain that question a little more because I don't know how to answer it. And I'm probably reading it wrong. Because I think you're joking or something. Because, man, you've been a long-time friend of the channel, Harry. I couldn't imagine you being that curt to the channel here. Because, man, yeah. You're probably just joking. I'm going to assume so. So I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, I just give my thoughts on these things because I don't know what all of you guys, exactly how it works for all of you. I also said that I hope my friend that's a mechanic makes more and that the guy that I'm friends with that works for the major construction company, I hope he makes more. I want the guy at the ammo factory to make more. I remember saying that just like about a couple minutes ago. And I really, really do appreciate all of you guys tonight. I made 5, 10, 12, 14. I brought in $16 in super chats tonight. I couldn't even work a job for anybody, no matter what it was. If it was a gas station, if it was anywhere. Like, I don't even know who pays minimum wage anymore because the local McDonald's here pays $16 an hour. This isn't my work here, just so you guys know that. Because if it was, I'd probably literally be homeless because I've been doing a 2-hour stream. And I really appreciate you guys tonight. Thank you very much. And I truly mean that. But, like, by the time YouTube takes out the fees, this is pre-tax. $16. Well, depends if you use an iPhone or a PC or an Android, but maybe I get to keep 8 or 9 of that. I made like $4 an hour tonight. If it was looked at as a money-making thing, which is not how I do it. So, I mean, like, you guys know that, right? Like, a company would literally go to jail if you worked for them making $4 an hour, right? That would violate every labor law in the whole country and in any state. Michael James, do you think he will lift the Biden Russian ammo import ban? I mentioned that a little bit earlier in the stream. Do I think he will? Probably not. If you wanted my final answer, okay? If you made my final answer, it would be no, probably not. But I did have a little bit of optimism because I held up this steel case Tula ammo earlier, and then I showed you guys the different steps of the production of the AAC steel case, right? So go back and rewind if you want to see that. That was pretty cool. But yeah, Trump did mention, though, as part of making peace, so-called, or ending the war or whatever, over in Ukraine and Russia, that he might be willing to remove some of the sanctions from Russia. And this was an economic sanction put on with all the ammo by the former, the current vice president, if you know who I mean. Right now is about the best chance I've seen in a while of maybe getting rid of it. But I'm going to say like super, super maybe, because probably not. But we'll see. We'll see, man. I hope so. This is the best chance we'll probably ever have. Yeah. Oh, I get it, Harry. You're saying, how can I make more? Just teasing. Well, thank you for clarifying that. I just saw all the exclamation points and I was like, wow. But no, you said you're just teasing. I thought you were. See, it's so hard to tell, guys, because we're reading online and I couldn't see that little snicker he was given when he typed it. What's happening, Lori? Nice to see you. Says, I need a job. Crazy how many places put out ads but aren't really hiring. Well, there'd be something nice about a lot more people getting good jobs around here. Here's the thing, too, you have to remember. It's not just how much you make in life, but how much you save. And where I mean that is, like what's the difference? If you made 20 an hour and half of it was robbed from you and you were down to 10, I guess you'd have the same in the end as if you made 10 an hour and they didn't rob anything from you. Now, that's a very crude example, but just to throw it out there, you'll get a raise. And I've known people that have said this where we're like, dude, I just got a raise. And they're like, ugh. And I'm like, well, what's wrong? That's going to bump me up into another tax bracket. Now I'm not going to be able to write off this or whatever. They'll no longer qualify for, I don't know, let's say it's help with their whatever. See, here's the problem. We've got so many entitlements in this country for so long. And once you get people on entitlements, it's hard to get people off of them. It's very hard. I totally get it. And then also, there's just so much regulation and onerous taxing that in some cases people get mad when they're getting a raise. And that's just so messed up to even think about. But I know it's true because I've had people explain different situations to me in real life where they're like, dude, I just got screwed by getting a raise. And I'm like, whoa. But then when they're done explaining it, I'm like, oh, I get it now. It's like, what? See, there's just so many working poor in this country that, yeah, we get a bunch of cheap stuff from other countries. We truly do. But it's like we've got people, like homeless people with cell phones. And it's just a really weird time that we live in. And I get it. Like, someone's homeless. I'm not saying they shouldn't be able to talk on the phone. And that's their priority. They pay for a phone and instead of maybe renting a room. Or I don't know. It's just so complicated. But at the end of the day, I know if you can put more money back into people's pockets, the dollar also stretches a lot too, because you're not taking from people, right? I just think taxation's theft. I really do, in so many ways. And the way they just blow the money and the things they do to it just makes it makes you cringe, man. Rescue not coming in with a super chat. Well, thanks, man. And a channel member. You guys see that squirrel he has on there? Oh, that's funny. And it's wearing a mask and the gloves, the blue nitrile exam gloves. I'm just saying. It's kind of funny. Thank you for the super chat. He says, grab a coffee on me, brother. Well, thank you. And I do let you guys know I do have a link to Blackout Coffee. It's down there in the description. It helps the channel, but like I buy it with my own money. They do not send me free coffee. But what might happen is I might be out in the truck too much the next 2 days plowing all this nasty white stuff that's outside on the ground. They call it snow. I can't stand it. And I might have to grab one when I'm in the truck because I don't have time to come back here. So thank you. Mr. C, what's happening, Mr. C? Channel member and longtime supporter. Thank you for the generous super chat, man. He just threw in 16 and said, I'll double your pay tonight. Well, thank you, man. Thank you. And I was, yeah, I appreciate it. Now I'm the rich guy. All you plebes are going to be working for me. And I'm going to put extra taxes on all of your pay. Thank you. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for all the support, guys. And this is a pretty darn grassroots funded channel, and I think a lot of you guys know that. Dude, Shady Tree Mechanic. See, here we go. I was talking about my mechanics friends tonight. You know what I'm saying? Shade Tree Mechanic. You're my type of dude, man. So do you live like up here in Michigan? Or are you down in South Carolina? I know good people in both. All right. He says AAC is a very good ammo and their prices are great for their accuracy. I know, guys. I can't share it here, but like I was posting this stuff on locals. That's why you guys need to check my locals out. This stuff is like, wow. Like, whoa, it's so cheap you can't even believe it. And that's made in the USA. I do like AAC. I like them quite a bit, man. That's why I bought, what it was, it 6 boxes of their 5.56 a couple weeks ago now. Shoot, probably a month ago now, something like that. I've only had a chance to open 2 of the boxes of it, but I know Doge is auditing the IRS. Trump says he's sending a bunch of IRS down to the border. We'll see what he's doing, man. Like, something. Look, I'm not saying that. I promise you guys tonight, I'm not being overly blissfully optimistic. I'm not even saying Trump can do it. If someone could do it, it'd probably be him, though, and his administration. Not just him, his administration. But man, I'm just such a constitutional purist. When I heard tariff the hell out of them and get rid of taxes here, I'm just like, ooh, you have my attention, because that's like hardcore fundamental, like founding fathers type stuff right there. Trump's floating the idea of completely abolishing the IRS and the income tax. You guys know that, right? Now, that's a whole separate topic. Will that happen? I want to say no, that could never happen, but maybe. Maybe. I mean, yeah, finally the shoe's on the other foot. Somebody's auditing them. It's about time. Wow. Harry Gremley says, 2A Edu, my second job, has told me that when the lease is up, at the end of the year, we're done. So, got to do some thinking. Sucks, man. And you know, where you live at, maybe things aren't so good around town. I don't know the exact place you live. I believe you're in Minnesota. Is that true? I think my memory serves me correct. You know, I get to know a lot of you guys over the years here. And man, you know, you live in another liberal, blue, or whatever you want to call it, state. So I wouldn't be surprised if stuff's in disarray. Look at Michigan right now. Michigan's just atrocious in so many ways. Did you guys have any more questions? Dan says, screwed after a raise, question mark? Please let us know what changed your mind on that. I'm pissed when my raise doesn't feel fair. Am I the a-hole? Oh, I don't know, dude. Maybe you didn't listen to what I said earlier. I said, I know somebody. I've known a couple people that have said this. That said they're worse off after they got a raise. I don't get a raise, man. I'm self-employed, you know? Here's how you could give me a raise. If you leave me a super chat tonight, Dan, that would be giving me a raise, right? But other than that, you know, maybe do you have some work you need me to bid on at your company or your house? Maybe then I could get a raise, but I wasn't talking about myself, so I can't answer that question. And I don't really care about your feels. Like, I don't know, like feelings, like whatever, dude. Like, I don't know what that even means. So maybe you're joking with me too, but it's like, I don't know, man. I was crystal clear. I know people who have said that. One guy literally said the government was helping subsidize his child's health care. I'll give you one example of what somebody told me. They said, you know, they're not on welfare. The person was working poor. And they said with the children he had that there was somewhat of health care aid provided by the government. By him getting that $1 or $2, whatever it was, raised, I can't remember exactly what it was, it bumped him up in the income level when the year was over. And by him making, I'm just making these numbers up, but he was telling me at the time, Let's just say it was like this. By him making an extra $5,000 that year, it cost him an extra $12,000 in healthcare. That was one example somebody gave me. But again, I wasn't like... So yeah, I didn't change my mind. I was just telling you that's how we are right now with different with the way different brackets work, coupled with, like I said earlier, not only taxes themselves, but certain entitlements that people have become accustomed to being entitled to. That's why they're called entitlements. So if you care to expound on that a little more, maybe you can, or just go back and rewind what I said earlier. Because I was pretty clear when I said it wasn't me. What's happening, Randy Smith? Nice to see you, man. He said, we know you work very hard at your lawn care business and everything you do for the cause in here. Thank you. Well, you're welcome, man. Yeah, I don't know if I'm doing a particularly good job, but I do work hard. I do that. Vince Metzger, what's happening, Vince? Nice to see you, man. He says, do U.S. importers pay these tariffs to the U.S. government, or do foreign countries? The foreign country pays the tariff. Now, some people say the tariff's just a tax. And you could look at it as a tax on goods, but it's not exactly the same as a tax. The other country, okay? Look, it's called reciprocal trade. So here's how this could really work. Keep this in mind, okay? I just said earlier, let's assume the tariffs all go through. But you know what could really happen? Think about this for a minute. Good old Czech Republic. Now, this is complicated because the largest ammo producer in the United States is owned by the Czechoslovak group. See, this is where I told you guys I had a bad feeling about this last year when it all went down, and then maybe they have a 10% tariff on the U.S. right now. I'm just going to say maybe. So then all of a sudden there's going to be a 10% tariff that they're going to have to pay. U.S. government, okay, that they're going to have to pay for it to come in here. So they're going to have to raise their prices, all right? Now, so they raise the price. It goes up equal to whatever because that's the cost of doing business. Now, if they're like, oh, shoot, ouch, that hurts. No one's buying our stuff anymore. Just kidding. We have no more tariff for stuff coming in from the U.S. All right, well, now, and I don't know what sector this would be in, but just humor me. Maybe somebody that makes, I don't know, plumbing fixtures in the U.S. Maybe now there's a huge influx of it being bought by Czech Republic because there's no more tariff. So now the U.S. is a viable vendor to them. And now, boom, there could go one segment of our industry, maybe somewhere else, shipping tons of stuff out to Czech Republic. So keep that in mind, too. It's called reciprocal, meaning he could tariff them the same as they're tariffing us, or they could do the other way and they could drop their tariffs down, right? So it just depends how it could work. It's a little bit of a X-Plans. I'm going to answer a couple more questions, then I'm going to jump off here. Says, what do you like to carry? My quick answer is this. I'd like to carry as much as possible that's feasible, though. A lot of times I like to carry a 380 literally in my pocket. That's when I can't carry a gun. But I always carry a gun. So I'm not equipped to really be carrying much, but I can fit one in my pocket. And it's very small and discreet. As far as little pocket 380s go, I'm a big fan of the Ruger LCP Max. I really, really like. Now, when it comes to, I like to have a 9mm. When it comes to having a little more firepower, I think 380 is viable. It is. LCP Max, 12, 13 rounds, or 10 and 11, depending which mag you put in it. Still a decent amount, right? But look at like a Taurus GX4, which I've carried often for a long time. Still very small to carry inside the waistband, usually. I'm really liking the micro dagger, though. Really liking that. Probably going to be taking over soon. Carry rotation. I'm also known to carry an AK underfolder in the vehicle, loaded, ready to go. So it just depends on what the occasion is. Sometimes I mean, handguns are what they are. Excellent tools for self-defense. Clearly save many good lives every year. But really, you carry a pistol because it's usually not very easy or whatever to carry a rifle. Michigan's got weird, convoluted stuff with we can't have loaded rifles in our vehicle and all that. But we do have some that are considered a pistol in Michigan, meaning that their overall length is shorter than 26 inches. So no legal advice whatsoever, guys. And I'm just saying there are, on certain types of folding, certain things in Michigan, they're actually registered. Registration. Don't even get me started. We're talking about taxation now. Registration. But there are some things that federally are classified as rifles that are registered as pistols in Michigan. Now, some states just have regular old constitutional carry or different versions of where you can have a loaded long gun in your vehicle, whatever. So it just depends what the situation is. But a pistol, great for so many things. It does not compare to a rifle, though. A rifle and a pistol are just worlds apart. You can't even really compare the two. Would you guys agree? So there you go. That's what I like to carry. And why? But it's just not practical. You're out there working and stuff to like always have like an AK slung on you. Sometimes you can't do that. But I do like a rifle. And again, Vince, I'm just talking about it from kind of a guns and ammo standpoint. And I'm not an expert on the topic, but I've been kind of listening about it. And that's kind of where I'm at with it a little bit. Importers pay the tariff, and then they usually pass the cost out of the customer. Sure. It usually gets passed on to the customer. There could be some 3D chess happening. I don't know how long they could do it, but maybe on a lot of the cheap Chinese goods. A friend was telling me earlier, maybe they're willing to take a hit into their profit margin and still pay like a 10 or 25% tariff and the retail price not go up at all here. We'll just have to see. But remember, the country was founded that it would be funded from import duties and tariffs, because there's also a duty tax too. John Q. Public says hello from Warren, Michigan. What's happening, man? I think I mentioned Warren, Michigan earlier today, randomly, actually, talking about maybe somebody working there or whatever. Make it a law where you can't pass it on to the customer. Sounds good at first, but probably not, because I don't want the government price fixing stuff. I mean, maybe there's a way that could be crafted that might make sense, but just like generally speaking, I don't want the government telling our businesses what they have to charge for stuff, really. Bill Camper says to encourage buying domestic. I'd like to see a lot of domestic stuff going on around here. And there's goods coming in from a lot of different countries. That's good stuff too. But here's the thing. You make the tariffs high enough, they may choose to just bring their factories here and start building them in the U.S. too, keep in mind. Like we saw Glock do. I mean, I don't know if that was just because of taxes, but different import restrictions like this, different. It has to have a point system. Some of the guns, you have to change the trigger to a target trigger and or the sights or the overall length, the weight. There's a whole point system that firearms have to fall under before they can come into the country. So if a foreign firearms maker is either too expensive or they literally can't import something in the U.S., sometimes they find it worth their while to bring their factory to the U.S. Maybe some of the money is still going back to the old country. It'd probably be the most ideal if you just had an American-owned domestic company. But at least, I guess, instead of just stuff getting imported in, if they come and build a factory here, at least you're still employing a lot of employees and workers here. They're still buying certainly a lot of the supplies and goods and whatnot locally to run that business, thus fueling the economy in the U.S. So everything's not black and white. There's some things that are more in between. Maybe rather just have the American-owned company, period. And maybe the worst is just the complete foreign and it's all imported. And maybe in the middle is when the foreign owned company decides to set up a factory here. You know, I'm not saying it's exactly in the middle, but something like that. Thank you, Bill Alexander. I appreciate it, man. And he put a Taurus GX4 emoji up in the chat, which is one of the ones I put in for the channel members. And a lot of that's imported from Brazil. Look, I've got this MagTech here, steel case. There you go, double whammy. It's steel cased, and it's also being imported. So, all right, let me take one last look at the chat here, and I am going to jump off. See if there's anything that passed in. Random guy from Oz says, yep, exactly, 2A, which is why I laugh at all the libertarians who complain about the tariffs. Look, man, look, shout out to all my friends who are libertarian. We see eye to eye on some really core fundamental stuff. That's why, like I say, I have good friends who are libertarians. I've told you guys a million times, I'm not a libertarian. I don't consider myself a Republican or a Democrat, certainly not, or any of it. I'm not a fascist, a communist. I'd rather just be like originalist, conserving the like original United States of America, bringing that back, whatever that's called is what I am, right? But yeah, man, that's something where me and my libertarian friends are just going to disagree right now. Maybe they're right, and in the end, I'll be on here like, oh, geez, wow, we are just done for. I don't know, man. It's always scary, though. You think about anything you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. And at one time, this country became prosperous and thriving with like almost everything being made here, with very high tariffs and only tariffs funding the whole country. Go back and look into it if anyone wants to. It's a very interesting thing to think about. Can we get there again and make it work? I hope so, but I don't know. There's always some fear of the unknown. So I'm trying to be optimistic. I think if anyone can do it, it might be right now. But by no means am I sure Trump's going to be able to pull it off. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. While you saw some kind of eagerness and optimism in my voice tonight, which was sincere, maybe I did a good job holding it in. I'm kind of scared, and you know what, Les, a little bit too, though. I mean, we live in uncertain times. Certainly, man. I'm not, yeah. I mean, yeah, we got to do something to change something, because right now it's just so many things are crazy. Mateo just got done finishing his loading. Well, there we go. See, there's a lot of people, Mateo, that actually have lots of skills in loading ammo, don't they? Mateo knows all about this, I'm sure. He has lots of friends in the business. And look, lots of people could start a nice little cottage industry, boutique, if you will, ammo company. But they actually can't do it, because as soon as they try, the boot of the government's on their neck so much, and they're like, whoa, you have to do all this just to make ammo in the U.S.? Like, wow. There's a lot of businesses like that. A lot of businesses like that. They're messing with all these people with their farm stands. Farmers like selling like either homemade goods or produce from the farm they're going after. That's a big deal in this country right now, actually. Just think about that. Like, what's more American than having like a roadside farm stand? Dude, they're over-regulating the crap out of everybody. You just got to get the jackboot of the government off of our necks, and I think the American people will do just fine. That's really what all this comes down to. And all these other countries, I've said it so many times because I mean it. Many, many fine people living in all these countries. Sorry, guys, you're just going to have to take care of yourself, though. We need to take care of ourselves right now and put this country first, not last. We need to stop being woke. And there you go. Get the boot off of our necks, stop doling out money all over the world, and stop being woke. And we'll be doing just fine. In the meantime, hopefully guns and ammo don't go up too much. I'm not saying they will. I hope they don't. But I can't help but to notice a lot of it's imported and a lot of it's made out of steel, aluminum. One more super chat just popped in. John Q. Public. Well, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it, man. And he says MCL 750227 vehicle provision is unconstitutional under the Suarez v. Paris decision and the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin 2022 decision. Is that the part of the vehicle code when it comes to carrying a firearm? If so, I believe it's completely unconstitutional, not just under court cases, but clearly under the Second Amendment itself as well. If that's the vehicle, if that's the code you're talking about, I completely agree. And probably most vehicle codes, look, when I see MCL in front of it, I automatically think unconstitutional. Look, we have original carriage laws in this country. And I mentioned it really, really earlier. Let's get off on a brief tangent, and then I'm going to jump off. Okay? And I said, well, a state regulating what, if you look at what state can regulate like a semi-truck in its weight versus the federal government, and I talked about how the government's supposed to have far less powers than the states. But if you look at early Michigan carriage laws, okay, that have then modernized into motor vehicles and Secretary of State, and it gets real convoluted. But actually, I believe under, and I don't think the laws have been repealed. Maybe someone can correct me if I'm wrong, because, again, not an expert, not a lawyer, but I believe there's original Michigan carriage laws that are in direct conflict, therefore should negate a lot of the provisions of how you have to give a CPL to carry in a vehicle in Michigan. And I guess the analogy would be is a motor vehicle analogous to a carriage, like a horse and carriage? I would argue, yes, it is. I don't know if people are making that legal argument, and if they are, if they're winning on it or not. I couldn't be any of your lawyer, even if you wanted me to be, because I'm not one. You have to be an actual lawyer to represent people. I'm just kind of throwing that out there, but yeah, there's lots of natural rights that are completely trod on in Michigan and in the United States. Kids selling lemonades illegal in Michigan. Robert Chase said, see, there you go. What's happening, Jeremy Wilson? How you doing, man? Pillbox Bunker says hello. Well, hello, Pillbox. Hopefully Pillbox is okay tonight. I don't think I've seen him in the chat. Just something kind of going on with the computer, I hope, is all. Was Pillbox in there earlier? I didn't see him. I hope. Well, tell Pillbox I hope he's okay. Hopefully it's just a computer glitch or whatever tonight. Vince Metzger with the super chat. 762. Was that to give a shout out to the 762 by 39 that I showed you guys the different stages of production? Or is it 762 NATO? Either way, I really appreciate it, man. Ooh, I know it's 762 by 39 now, because he just said, thanks for everything, 2A. Well, you're welcome, man. I'm excited about buying a Molot 40 round mag. Well, Molot means that's from Russia. And those are nice mags. And collectible. So that's awesome, man. And he's referring to my locals deals. And thank you for using my link, dude. I did get a little bit of credit for that. I didn't know it was you necessarily until I went in and saw that you had sent me the info to make sure that I got some credit. So thank you. And thank you, Denny Wilson, if you're watching too earlier this week. And Marco Polo, if you're still watching. Who else was in there earlier this week? I think maybe RT Gold. So thanks, guys. I do share some affiliate links over on locals if anyone's wondering what they're talking about. And some are down in the description, just not for good stuff because I can't share that on YouTube. And that's a way some of you can help financially support the channel totally for free. And that's what Vince did. And I appreciate that, man. And that's a nice magazine. Well, yeah, there obviously couldn't be any historical tradition of firearms regulation in Michigan in 1791 because it wasn't a state yet. Well, yeah, there you go. What's happening, Mike McClune? Nice to see you, man. Michigan's is very simple. He's looking at Pennsylvania's state constitution. It says the right of the citizens to bear arms in defense of themselves and the state shall not be questioned. And in Michigan, it says every person has the right to keep and bear arms in defense of himself and the state. So that's another good one. Shout out to all the Pennsylvanians out there. He's on the big screen. Okay, gotcha. Well, what's happening, Pillbox Bunker? All right, I'm jumping off in 1 second here. You're welcome, Harry Gremley. Oh, Bill Camper is coming in, man, with a super chat. Well, thank you, Bill. 762 and a channel member, longtime supporter. I would add to that. Thank you. And I wish it would let me pin up the is that a super chat or sticker? I don't see a message. So if you wanted to say something, type it real quick and I'll read it if you had a question and I cut you off. But if you are just helping to support the channel, I really appreciate it. Oh, okay. Just to give the hourly a little boost. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'm just going to take one last real quick glance to see if there was any more questions. And I am going to jump off. Like I said, I was a half hour ago, but I got to talking to you guys. You know how it is when old friends get to talking, right? Good to see all of you tonight. You're absolutely right, random guy from Oz. What he's saying right there, guys. Take a look at that. That's, in my opinion, you nailed it. Yeah. Wow, you know a lot about the history of Michigan. I can't say I know exactly when every year of all of that went down, John Q. Public, but nice, man. In the current history of Michigan, me, it's like, well, we'll just have to see what happens in these next elections. All right, guys, I am going to jump off here and probably be in the truck for a long time this weekend. I'll probably do my locals stream tomorrow night. I'm going to try my hardest. If I can't for some reason, I won't, but I'll make it up to you guys soon. Maybe for a local stream if I can't do it. And this is a maybe because I'm not sure technologically how it'll work. Maybe I'll try to see if there's some way to hook my phone up in the truck and do a live stream in there. That's not a promise, but I did do a snow plowing live stream many, many years ago. And yeah, I think I had like maybe 100 or 200 subscribers back then. And I think there were 4 or 5 people maybe in the stream watching it. We'll have to see. All right. I'm going to jump off and go look and see if there's any of that nasty white, cold, wet stuff on the ground because I can't stand snow, guys. Look, I like my job. I'm grateful that I'm that I have work. Don't get me wrong. I just don't like snow. But hey, that's all right. A lot of you guys can relate, right? You're happy you have a job. You might like certain things about your job. But I'm more of like, dude, I like green, like grass, and I like flowers. Yeah, man. Like I'd either prefer like mulch and boulders and rocks and stuff that I deal with in the summer. Like there's a lot to like. But yeah, dude, like snow. So maybe some of you can relate. I'm living the American dream. I own my own small business, but I still hate part of my job, and that would be anything that's white and frozen. Okay. And I think some of you can relate. Cheers, man. Good night. That would be fun. Bye, all, and God bless. God bless you too. Good night, Harry Grimley. Take it easy, man. I'm totally glad you were joking earlier. I hope I didn't overreact. I just saw the exclamation marks and I was like, man, I thought me and Harry were buddies. Like I ain't making that much, but you were joking the whole time. And thank you. I appreciate that. Good night. You're welcome. All right. I am going to get out of here. All right. Thanks for watching and have a good one.